Good evening, everyone. I am calling the the Housing Authority of the City of Salem to order for Monday, April 27th, 2026. Will the recorder please call the roll?
Commissioner Tigan.
Here.
Commissioner Matthews.
Here.
Vice Chair Gwynn.
Here.
Commissioner Brown.
Present.
Commissioner Bing absent. Commissioner Nordyke.
Here.
Commissioner Barney.
Here.
Chair Nishioka.
I'm here. Thank you. Will you all please rise, and will Commissioner Matthews please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance? Vice Chair, do we have any additions or deletions?
We do not.
Thank you. We're now to public comment for the Salem Housing Authority, and we have one person. Mark Wigg is coming to the podium, and you have 3 minutes. Please state your name, your ward or address, and follow the clock.
Thank you. Mark Wigg, Ward 2. Happy birthday, Dan. And only a small portion of Block 50 is contaminated, and it won't be developed for years. You can maximize its value and the value of the entire downtown today by doing self-managed camp communities, a project that will help reduce the problems of unmanaged camps and people sleeping in doorways. Now, Gretchen Bennett told me that one of the big obstacles to this is liability. In these self-selected, self-managed camp communities, the campers will have to sign a liability waiver where they promise not to sue. They need to have their identity confirmed before being allowed in the camp. She said that the cost is prohibitive. And Jimmy Jones confirmed that by telling me that 24/7 security would cost about $1.5 million a year. That is why homeless people selecting the 10 to 20 other campers they want in their camp community might work. They may have control over who is allowed to visit their community. The people with warrants and violent reputations will be easier to identify. Fire danger will be greatly reduced. Our fire chief has told me that open campfires at unmanaged camps are extremely high fire danger, and his department responds to dozens of these fires every year. Weather this summer is expected to be hotter and drier than normal, extreme fire danger. This can be reduced by replacing open fire pits with propane fires for cooking and gathering for a community warmth. I asked Andrew Holberg, who is responsible for getting Courtney Place constructed. He agrees we need help for homeless veterans now, and that if the first camp community is veterans, they could get the template developed for future camps. And they could do it in a few weeks because they're used to structure and order and things like that. And the facilities for these camps would include portable toilet showers and dumpsters. A large tent would be provided along the alley so local churches could come and provide food and counseling. If they had a secure place to live, people that are homeless could get jobs and not have their few possessions stolen while at work. The city would be cleaner, safer, and a leader in addressing our homeless crisis.
Thank you. Stay at the podium. I believe we have someone with a question.
Thanks, Madam Chair. Mr. Wigg, thank you for sharing your thoughts tonight. So in regards to your vision, where exactly did you say these managed camps could be? Did you give a place?
Well, let's start with Block 50, Commercial and Center Street. Underneath the bridge right now, we have probably 80 campers, and ODOT will move them out. Where do they go? Well, maybe between now and then we can get these self-selected little platoons, little community camps going on that. Some of it's paved and stuff like that right now, but there is a portion that was contaminated by fuel tanks.
Correct.
And so you can't put anything on that, but other parts I think would be safe.
And you mentioned a cost. You said 1.5 or 1.2 million?
That's if we hired security people.
Got it. And where did you get that number from?
Jimmy Jones.
Got it.
Arches.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Any other questions? All right. Thank you, Mr. Wigg.
Thank you.
All right, we are now on to the consent calendar. You're waving at somebody.
The REACH team. The REACH team.
So, do you have a motion on the consent calendar?
I move approval of the consent calendar.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded by Commissioner Matthews. To your motion?
Consent calendar this evening consists of the April 13th draft Salem Housing Authority minutes, and that is all.
Any questions from anyone? Will the recorder please call the roll?
Commissioner Barney,
Aye.
Commissioner Tigan,
Aye.
Commissioner Matthews,
Aye.
Vice Chair Gwynn,
Aye.
Commissioner Brown,
Aye.
Commissioner Vang absent, Commissioner Nordyke,
Aye.
and Chair Nishioka.
Aye. And the motion passes. Thank you. We do not have any action items. We do not have any resolutions. There is no public hearing or no special orders of business. We are to information reports. Is Ms. Utes here this evening? Oh, there she is. She's coming.
Thank you. I was coming from a different side tonight. Good evening. I'm Nicole Utes. I'm the Director of Salem Housing Authority. And just opening up with that Salem Housing Authority continues to serve over 9,000 residents, focusing on housing stability, self-sufficiency, and community partnerships. We're at a strong voucher utilization with 3,096 households being leased out. Of the 3,302 that are authorized, that includes 3.19 million in monthly housing assistance payments going out into our community. Our demand continues to exceed our available funding. And just to remind everybody, when I say that we have 3,302 authorized vouchers, that money runs out quicker when our voucher payments to our landlords are much higher than what is expected. So we are still seeing some pretty high rent increases coming through our agency, and we're doing some careful rent reasonableness. We have designed a whole new platform for our agency to be able to carefully scrutinize the rent increases that are coming through the door. As you can see in our program management report, we've secured the $500,000 in federal funding for Southview Terrace Apartments. We want to again thank Congresswoman Salinas for her assistance, and that was many of the photos selected in there. And thank you all for who participated in that. For that, it means the world. Those seniors will, when we can get the project up and going, this will provide a extreme value for those who went through the ice storm many years ago. That property was out of power for 11 days. If you can imagine not having your elevator, your lights, your heat, and you're a senior, and we did everything in our power to keep them going during that time. This will hopefully improve their livability if that were ever to happen again. And it highlights the importance of our continued advocacy and external partnerships into the future. Another highlight in there is our short-term stability support fund. Thank you for the $50,000 from the City of Salem. You can see we have 94 applications totaling over $159,000 in requests currently. We have paused those applications as of this time. Primary needs have been rent arrears, utilities, deposits, and eviction prevention. We have renamed our front desk to Client Services Operations and Division. We hope this streamlines us strategically as a team, so our landlord navigation and our client services will all come together as one team. We're still seeing a very high volume with over 1,017 in-person client visits at our front desk. That is a lot of foot traffic through our front door. And our landlord navigation individual was able to give 131 housing leads to provide to those vouchers on the street. And I am open for any questions.
Commissioner Nordyke.
Thank you so much, and thank you, Director Utes, as always, for your report and all the detailed information. I did have a few questions. So I saw that you have a vacancy at Yaquina Hall, one single vacancy. I had visited that property a couple years ago. I was in the area, and I saw a couple gentlemen who were sitting on a park bench out front, and I asked them, "Are you residents here?" And they said yes, and I continued the conversation. It was a success story that they shared with me. These were two gentlemen who'd been living on our streets for years, and they had finally found housing through Yaquina Hall. And I asked them, well, how is it? What is it like? And they said nothing but positive things about the program and about the service and support they received there. So I just want to remind folks, Yaquina Hall is one of the ways in which we serve chronically unsheltered individuals. Chronically meaning they've been on the streets for over a year. One gentleman said he'd been on the streets for over 7 years. I cannot imagine. And as you also know, we have persons with severe mental illness. There are beds dedicated to that. So I'm just curious, you have one vacant unit at Yaquina Hall. How do you decide who gets to be in that one unit?
Thank you. That's a great question. So Yaquina Hall, thankfully, we have all but one filled at this time. Those are referrals from our shelter programs. So the individuals that are referred in are, they are currently active in one of the sheltering programs through the Mid-Willamette Valley Homeless Alliance. And they have gone through the coordinated entry assessment, and then the sheltering providers funnel those in through one coordinated entry system, and they're referred to us through Mid-Willamette Valley Community Action Agency. So we often will send out a sheet that it describes what the program is, how many is available. For instance, Yaquina Hall has a elevator system on both sides. It has supportive services on site. The difference may be Sequoia Crossings has 3 stories. This may be a 3rd floor unit. We would put that additional information so that the referrals can come quickly and we can navigate the next person into the property. So that one unit is likely in turnover status, and sometimes that can take anywhere. Our goal is 14 days. Sometimes due to the condition, it can take a little bit longer.
But it might be vacant for a total of 14 days, is what you're saying.
That is our goal for turnaround within 14 days from a vacancy, and then 7 days from that to get leased up.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Nicole. And as always, thanks for a great report. I was curious on the Stability Support Fund program, short-term project, March 15th to June 30th, and it says you have requests for, so how much was in that fund, and how do you decide who to choose?
Thank you. So this is the $50,000 in Stability Support Fund that came from the City of Salem, and it is much needed in the community. We do have over $159,000 in requests. That goes, the highest portion of that coming for rent arrears. The second highest, we're really seeing a high level of utility costs that are coming through in a need. But that's a first come, first serve. So the applications are all automated online. They could be done at any location. And we are actually processing them line by line to verify the various needs in that. What we are seeing is that many families are requesting the maximum dollar amount instead of just the amount that they need. And so we're deciphering that of what the actual need is and the backup documentation to it. So right now we've paid out a total of $12,973. And we have currently over $20,688 in pending review status. That means we may be needing a W-9 or another piece of documentation to verify. I will say that one of the great success stories was a single mom who recently went through a DV situation and had fallen behind on a mortgage. She just needed assistance with one mortgage payment. She had clear verification that she could continue on with her mortgage assistance and get out of these late payments, and she's able to retain her home for her and her children. So that was a great win. We were able to get that completed and get her back on a good path.
Of these folks, are these folks people that had been impacted by ICE, or?
That is not a specific question we are asking.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Matthews.
You mentioned that you guys have, I think it was 3,300 allotted vouchers, is that right? But you were mentioning that you don't actually supply the 3,300, you go to the dollar amount that you're allowed, which I don't know exactly how much that is, but I guess my question would be is, what is the average rent then? I assume each one's different, so if you have 2 bedrooms, it's going to be more than a studio, but like if you were just to take the overall number of money that you get against those 3,300 vouchers, what should the average rent be?
So our per unit cost right now is about $1,100, but that is an average amount for all 3,100. I can tell you that just a few years back, that average per unit cost was $600–700. So we're seeing quite an increase in per unit averages. Gotcha. And that is contributing to, we not only have to balance the number that we're assisting, but we're having to balance that we do not exceed our maximum threshold of dollars. And that's where the variance looks like we have all these vouchers, but we don't. We're currently in a pause status right now because we have exceeded our dollar amount. So we have to wait for some attrition of vouchers to go off before we can open back up sending any additional out.
Gotcha. So about 1,100 is kind of where yours are sitting. Do you happen to know what the actual market rent is? Is it also 1,100 traditionally, or is it higher than that? Or I assume not lower. That wouldn't make sense.
I can tell you about the 2 bedrooms right now. We're running anywhere from the affordable housing 2 bedrooms are anywhere from $1,200 to $1,600. We're seeing some come in as high as $2,000. It depends. We're actually broken down by a specific zip code to try to maximize the funding that we have. So we have a maximum amount. What we're seeing is that we're still getting a lot of landlords trying to go to the maximum dollar amount without having the comparables in the market to suffice that. So we're digging into every single rent increase.
Got it. Thank you.
Commissioner Brown.
Thanks, Madam Chair. Madam Director, it's always good to see you, so thank you for sharing and, of course, the report. So my first question is this. I love how you give us, the definitions, the glossary and the handout. You have on here other one-time costs, 21, and it's a little bit over 38 million. Can you share with us what that one-time cost looks like, if possible?
Oh. Yes, thank you. So what we're seeing on other one-time costs is that, and we've had a few of these, that they owe back rear rent to a previous landlord or some sort of situation at a previous rental that needs to be paid for in order for them to be accepted into their new apartment. And so we're going through those costs and negotiating with them on what the best use, whether getting a security deposit or getting this paid off. So anything that doesn't fall into those specific criteria, it is lumped into that other one-time costs.
Got it. Madam Chair, may I ask a follow-up?
Yes, please.
So, Madam Director, I think I know the answer to this, but maybe this will be a good, refresher for the folks that are here or listening at home. So when you have someone that currently right now, let's say they are on the streets, let's say they are living underneath the bridge, and let's say they do have a history with, substance use, when an individual uses substances, let's say on one of our properties, ones that you oversee, what happens to the individual if they are using drugs on any of our properties? What happens?
So if that is a federally subsidized property, we are required to terminate assistance for use of substances. Now, keeping in mind that we do have permanent supportive housing, And with that in mind, we do go through eviction prevention, and we will, of course, sit down and try to get them into a recovery program and try to meet the needs of a recovery. We even hold units if somebody will accept recovery treatment, and meaning they need to go to inpatient. There's a period of time that HUD allows us to continue to hold their unit for them to go to that treatment, whether it's substance treatment or mental health treatment. We've done it numerous times so that they can return and come back to stable housing, because that's ultimately the goal. So there's a lot of variables. We don't just terminate or kick people out for drug use. It is a very challenging topic in the court of law, and it has been through the previous years for Oregon in the eviction courts. We have to be very careful that it's not hearsay and that we have clear and valid documentation.
Right, and when I think about those individuals that may need, recovery assistance, they may need to be in rehab, do you find that those folks typically say yes to recovery, or do you find that there's more folks that would probably say no?
That's a challenging question.
I know.
Right now, I'm starting to see, I can tell you I'm just going to use the example that I actually have data for right now. The shelter pilot recovery program at Redwood, at all 6 units are filled, by the way, and we're very excited for that. We've had 2 incidences where they were already some sort of recovery violation. Those 2 individuals decided to go to inpatient treatment, and we're very happy to see that pathway go. So those were both yeses to stay in the shelter pilot recovery program. That is the goal that we want to achieve, and that's what we'd love to see in the entire building at Redwood Crossings. It depends. Through the years, it often comes down to an eviction, that we get to an eviction prevention plan before we see that want or need or change. We also see individuals that will say they prefer this program over this program, or they've tried this program over, like Ideal Options over Bridgeway. I don't want to name any specific names because it happens all the way around, but it really depends. I can just know that we're collecting the specific data on the shelter recovery program, which is what we want to do, and be able to bring back that information to you.
Thanks, Director. Madam Chair.
Yes, Commissioner Matthews.
Sorry, last one here. I was just sitting here thinking, and I was wondering, does Salem Housing Authority, or do you know of any other programs that offer more of a security deposit guarantor program? One of the things I hear a lot from landlords specifically is they'll take a lesser rent, especially from someone like Salem Housing Authority, because it's guaranteed. But what's not guaranteed is that the person they're taking won't damage the property, right? If you generally have an eviction on your history before, or you have a lower credit score, you have these things that traditionally would not make you qualify for the unit, they'll take them because they'll get the guaranteed rent. But if the rent's on average $1,100 and the security deposit's equal to 1 month rent, $1,100 just doesn't go real far when you're replacing floors in a 2-bedroom, right? It won't cover, but 10% of the cost, 15% of the cost. And so is there any program that kind of allows for that, where a landlord can take a lesser rent to help free up some of the voucher space, but in turn, there is at least a guarantee that even though they're taking this risk, that they have some security in that?
I'm not aware of one presently. No. I mean, that may be a creative solution to look into. There's a lot surrounding vouchers that we have to meet federal regulations. But our program does come with a guarantee or a backer.
Right.
We are seeing very high security deposits. The max for the stability support program is $2,500. Thankfully, that has been covering several deposits, and we're very grateful for that. But when there's many barriers on backgrounds, we're seeing much higher security deposits being requested. That, over probably the past 2 or 3 years, we're starting to see a lower trend of that, which is greatly appreciated. But there is, I will say with landlords, there is a sense of fear out there with the COVID moratorium that occurred. They were not able to collect rent during that period of time, and so they're having a higher sense of accepting who's coming through the door.
Yeah, that makes sense. Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, those are great questions, some of which I was going to ask, so now I'm going to have to come up with another one. Again, great report. It's amazing all the work that you and your team do, and with limited team members, you do amazing work. I know that I've spoken with you about mechanisms to help people at the edge, help people that can't come up with the funds for the deposits, as you were talking about. And I'm wondering if you can address how you're helping those that, again, you mentioned the one woman that was on mortgage and all she needed was the 1 month. Can you talk a little bit about the projects, programs that you have to assist those?
Sure. Well, right now, I want to say that the Stability Support Fund that came through the City of Salem, those referrals are predominantly being generated through culturally responsive partners, DHS, Arches, Salem Kaiser School District, Northwest Human Services, and various others. We have literally put this out to all of our collaborative partners. We're asking those requests go through the Stability Fund. Our clients coming through the door, we can work with on payment plans, payment programs to come through with security deposits. We're really trying to stretch this entire $50,000 to the max. And there's only a team of 2 of us going through this entire 94 applications in order to use all $50,000 and not collect on admin dollars. We really believe that this money needs to get out there in the community to help every single potential individual. And so we've assisted from 175 all the way up to 2,500 so far. When it comes to other processes, we are working hand in hand with the health-related social needs. So we also have resident service coordinators. We actually have some openings. So if you know anybody who wants to come aboard our great team, we're hiring a resident service coordinator for the shelter pilot program, and then for our senior building, we'd love to have their applications and come and join us. But those resident service coordinators are there designed to help meet the needs of our clients in the moment. That may be through trying to keep them stable and not get evicted. Oftentimes that means they need a utility assistance. They may need to get caught up on rent. There's a lot that can come through the health-related social needs. And so if we can send that request through that system, we're going to take that pathway. Through this 50K, we're going through and we're trying to assess whether that request can go that route or if it only can come from this fund. So we do look at every potential option, but I can tell you that with all the federal and state reductions, there is not a lot of options out there right now for eviction prevention.
Thank you. Looks like we have one more question.
I said last one, but I was wrong. You mentioned the HRSN, and so I recently had some experience with the HRSN, and so tell me a little bit, you said you're hiring for positions, because one of the struggles I found is when tenants apply, the backlog is so large that it's between an 8-month and a year-long wait right now before they actually get any type of approval, which, I mean, if you're facing eviction, there's just no landlord that can financially decide that, yeah, we're going to wait 8 months to a year to see if you get qualified. And so you mentioned you're hiring positions. Is SHA, are they a part of this? Or explain to me how that part works.
So we were actually chosen as an eviction prevention for resident services, our residents at the Housing Authority. So we're not designed to take referrals in from all other locations. We currently are actually partnering with agencies that can take a higher volume in effort to, we still have many residents in arrears for rent as well from the COVID era that we're trying to keep from going into the eviction process. And so we're actually seeing a pretty good turnaround right now. I think probably what a lot of the landlords, they're referring to the actual Medicaid Pacific Source assistance, which they probably are completely inundated and backlogged, and I can understand that. We are utilizing some collaborative partners because we're one agency to 798 of our own unit, 3,000 vouchers, and then 1,190 partnering agencies. So we've built a couple of collaborative relationships, one with Polk Family Resource Center, and then our in-house team that is slowly building up We actually received a pilot grant program to build this resident service program, and we're hoping that we can bring it all in-house and actually grow it so that we can get help to those landlords in the voucher program as well.
Yeah, I think that sounds great, because you're right. The one that I was referring to, and the one I've had most recent exposure to, was the Pacific Source
Yes.
version. And yeah, all I keep hearing is about the delay and the backlog. So I think that's great that you guys can be a part of that.
And I do know that they've narrowed the scope of what those requests can be. There's been some changes, and what I've been hearing is that payments have been going out much faster.
That's
but
great.
it is narrowed down to what specifically they're
What
assisting with.
qualifies? Got it.
All right. Thank you very much. Appreciate the report and answers to all the questions that we gave you. Thank you.
Thanks.
So that concludes our meeting. It is adjourned.
I'd like to call to order this meeting of Salem City Council for Monday, April 27th, 2026. Will the recorder please call the roll?
Councilor Tigan.
Present.
Councilor Nishioka.
Present.
Councilor Matthews.
Here.
Councilor Gwynn.
Here.
Councilor Brown.
Present.
Councilor Vang absent. Councilor Nordyke.
Here.
Councilor Varney.
Here.
Mayor Julie Hoy.
Here. Chair Nishioka, do we have any additions or deletions to the agenda?
Yes, we do. I move for a deletion to the agenda.
Second.
Counselor, to the motion.
Yes, thank you. We are deleting item number 3.3A, and we will see this, I believe, at our next meeting.
Great. Thank you. Any questions? Will the recorder please call the roll?
Councilor Brown.
Aye.
Councilor Vang absent. Councilor Nordyke.
Aye.
Councilor Varney.
Aye.
Councilor Tigan.
Aye.
Councilor Nishioka.
Aye.
Councilor Matthews.
Aye.
Councilor Gwynn.
Aye.
Mayor Julie Hoy.
Aye. All right, we're moving on to council and city manager comment. Does anyone have anything they would like to share this evening? Councilor Nishioka. I'm
going to jump on, but maybe Councilor Brown will also add to this. There was recently a ribbon cutting for a new mental health facility in Ward 5. It's referred to as Branches. This is connected with Cedar Hills Hospital, and it was a lovely event. The site is beautiful, and they do some pretty aggressive work. It's not people that may have been in the hospital are coming and getting daily care and service, and we're lucky to have another facility like this for Salem, and Councilor Brown may want to expand a bit.
Sure, thank you. I would simply say that in light of the conversation we just had with Director and also Mr. Mark Wigg, sharing more about those individuals that are having struggles with either being homeless or having struggles with drug abuse. To have another facility in our community, it is a beautiful thing to see. Especially when you're driving throughout the city or you're walking throughout the city, how many of us know that we can always find something to complain about? Everybody out there should raise both their hands. There's always something for us to complain about, but there's always something good happening too at the same time. We just have to look a little bit more closely. And so to be there with Councilor Nishioka and also the county commissioners, they were a part of this. So to see another facility that's open, that's not only a part of the city, but also the county has an interest in it. And it's just another place where folks who are looking for support, they're looking for assistance, and to have another set of doors open, I would say that's always a win-win for us. So it was great to see that. I yield the floor.
Anyone else? Yeah, Councilor Nordyke.
Thank you so much, Madam Mayor. So recently, my volunteers and I led our third garbage cleanup crew. I started this a few months ago. The first garbage cleanup that we did was at Riverfront Park, and I really want to say thank you to Daphne and my friends at the City of Salem. They worked with us. They gave us bright yellow trash bags. They gave us garbage picker-uppers. They gave us sterile gloves. And we coordinated a plan for where they could pick up the yellow bags. And then all we had to do was assemble some volunteers. I've always said you don't need permission to do the right thing. And so if you have ever wanted to help out with garbage cleanup anywhere, maybe in your neighborhood park, maybe on your street, maybe you'd like to organize it with some colleagues at your office, some friends at your church, some people in your neighborhood association. There are ways for all of us to be a part of the solution. And so our first garbage cleanup effort was at Riverfront Park, and we picked up garbage outside of the Riverfront Park area, Gilbert's House Children's Museum. Some volunteers walked into Wallace Marine Park. Others, like me, did Marion Square Park. At our second garbage cleanup effort, we went down Kubler Boulevard, and I picked up lots of trash along the side of the road there. And then more recently, we went to Northeast Salem and picked up garbage along Market Street. And we haven't decided where we're going to go next month, but I do look forward to continuing this. And while we are on the subject of garbage, I'd like to remind folks that we started the SOS team, now known as Salem's Clean Team, in 2022. And this is a team of outstanding city employees, public works employees, police officers who work together to clean up garbage in our city. In fact, the homeless services team officers have coordinated many times with the clean team. So not only have we voted as a council to create this clean team in 2022 and voted to expand it in 2025, but there are other ways for all of us to participate in making our city a little bit cleaner, a little bit safer, a little bit healthier. In unrelated news, I was really excited to see in our Salem Housing Authority meeting held earlier tonight that, for the most part, our facilities are completely full. That means that our staff are diligently finding individuals who are struggling with the affordability of housing in a city where it is becoming increasingly difficult to find places to live. And one of those great examples is Yaquina Hall. Yaquina Hall is a former building on the Oregon State Hospital campus. It used to be an old dormitory, and for years it languished because the Oregon State wasn't using it. So many, many moons ago, in fact, several mayors ago, I think Mayor Peterson may have been the first one to work on this, but we started talking to the state of Oregon about how to reuse one of their buildings. We saw a desperate need for folks struggling with severe mental illness on our streets. We know that those folks require specialized care and treatment above and beyond folks who have no mental health diagnosis. And so over many years, we finally purchased, renovated, and staffed Yaquina Hall. And today we heard they had just one vacancy out of 50. And they are already working on ensuring that that vacancy does not remain open for long. I recently visited Yaquina Hall and met a couple of the residents who are hanging out outside at one of the park benches. And I was able to ask them personally, do you live here? They said yes. How do you like living here? Do you feel safe here? Were you on the streets? How long were you on the streets? And I was able to determine that those two gentlemen were thrilled to be there. They had been on the streets for years, and now they were able to live safely indoors. This is how we end homelessness, one person at a time. And I just want to say how much I appreciate the Salem Housing Authority staff and all the service partners who work with Salem Housing Authority to provide the mental health services and other forms of treatment to get folks off the streets and keep folks off the streets. Thank you.
Anyone else? Nothing going on? Well, I was pleased to be a part of the kids' relays on Saturday. I was able to start the race and hang the medals on the teams, and it was pretty heartwarming. I just wanted to say a thank you and a shout out to everyone as city staff who worked so hard to pull off such a great event for so many young people in our beautiful city. So, if no one else, yeah, Councilor Varney.
Thank you. I wanted to mention on Friday I had an opportunity. Well, let me start out. The American Association of University Women, in coordination with the City of Salem, has been planting trees at Stevens Yoshikai Park for the past 4 years, and this was our 4th time that we've gotten together. And it's a joint celebration of Tree City USA and Earth Day and Arbor Day, and I think we've planted almost 100 trees in the last 4 years, and we're planning on doing it next year. I'm also an AAUW member. The 6th graders from Stevens Middle School join us, and so it's an outing that they enjoy too. It's great to be out there planting trees with them. As I said, city staff were there, and there were forestry interns, and I'm sure I'm missing a bunch of others, but over the years, another important thing, the AAUW members actually donate to purchase the trees, and they've purchased a bench and a plaque, and I just wanted to recognize them. Thank you.
Thank you. And anyone else? Seeing none, we will move on to proclamations, and I want to start by giving a very unofficial proclamation because today was the day Dan Atchison was born. And I think his parents deserve a thank you from all of us. So happy birthday, Dan. All right. Moving on to a proclamation. Councilor Teigen for National Fentanyl Awareness Day.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and I'd welcome the members of our REACH team to join me on stage. Thank you for being here this evening. Whereas the misuse of fentanyl, a powerful synthetic opioid, has become a critical public health crisis across our nation, claiming the lives of thousands of individuals each year and devastating families and communities. And whereas fentanyl is 50 to 100 times more potent than morphine, and even a small amount can cause fatal overdoses, making it one of the leading causes of drug-related deaths in the United States. And whereas the rise in counterfeit pills and illicitly manufactured fentanyl has heightened the risk of accidental overdoses, particularly among young people who may be unaware of the dangers posed by these substances. And whereas fentanyl and counterfeit pill education are now mandatory in all Oregon middle and high schools. However, addressing the fentanyl crisis requires a collective effort from behavioral health providers, state and local officials, law enforcement, and as well as family members, friends, and neighbors. And whereas the National Fentanyl Awareness Day serves as a vital opportunity to honor the lives lost to fentanyl-related overdoses, support those who are struggling with addiction, and reaffirm our commitment to prevention, treatment, and recovery efforts. And whereas this day also calls upon all levels of government, healthcare providers, educators, community organizations, and individuals to work together to address this epidemic through increased access to resources, harm reduction strategies, and life-saving interventions such as naloxone. And now, therefore, Julie Hoy, our mayor of City of Salem, does hereby proclaim April 29th, 2026 as National Fentanyl Awareness Day, urging all citizens to join in raising awareness about the dangers of fentanyl, supporting those affected by this crisis, and taking action to prevent further loss of life, dated this 27th day of April, 2026. Thank you for all your work. Thank you for being out there. Appreciate it.
They should come back for a photo. Come back. Hey, how about you guys come to the middle and we all kind of want to be in it? I'd like to welcome now Thao Tu, Hao Zu-ung, Han Nguyen, Can Tran, and Kelly Tran to the stage. This is our proclamation for Vietnamese American Remembrance Day. Thank you for being here. Hi. Nice to see you. Thank you. Whereas, since the conclusion of the Vietnam War on April 30th, 1975, Vietnamese refugees have proudly made the city of Salem, Oregon, their home, enriching the community with their resilience and contributions. And whereas Vietnamese Americans have significantly contributed to the growth and vitality of Salem through their dedication to industries, the economy, cultural enrichment, education, and military service. And whereas Vietnamese Americans regard the state of Oregon as their second homeland, embracing it with heart, mind, and spirit. And whereas every year Vietnamese Americans solemnly observe Remembrance Day to honor the sacrifices of 58,220 American servicemen and servicewomen, including 810 from the state of Oregon, 34 from the city of Salem, and more than 300,000 South Vietnamese soldiers who gave their lives for freedom and democracy in South Vietnam between November 1955 and April 1975. And now, therefore, I, Julie Hoy, Mayor of the City of Salem, do hereby proclaim April 30th, 2026 as Vietnamese American Remembrance Day, dated this 27th day of April, 2026.
Good evening, dear Honorable Mayor Hoy and distinguished council members. I am Thao Tu. I'm honored to serve as the Vietnamese community of Oregon's president. On behalf of our board, I extend our deepest gratitude for the proclamation in recognition of the April 30 as the Vietnamese American Remembrance Day. Your recognition reaches beyond a story, reaches beyond a ceremony. It honors our people's long journey from the devastating war, crossing the ocean, resettle in the U.S., and rebuild our life from the zero in the state of Oregon and in the city of Salem. It also honors the ultimate sacrifice of 58,000 U.S. soldiers and 300,000 South Vietnamese soldiers fought side by side for democracy and freedom in South Vietnam from November 1955 to April 1975. For our community, this moment is meaningful. It affirms that our story matters, our heredity endure, and that the next generation can stay tall, that know their identity is honored today. From the bottom of our hearts, thank you for honoring our community, our legacy, and the enduring spirit of the Vietnamese in the city of Salem and in the state of Oregon. Thank you so much. And we have the thank you certificate to the mayor and the council member. Thank you so much for recognizing us. And Kan Jong and Kelly John are from Salem.
Thank you so much. Nice to meet you. Let's get a picture.
Oh.
All right, we have no presentations. We do have some folks signed up for public comment. I'll call 2 names at a time. Please come forward to the podium, push the button till you see the green light. Please announce your ward or your address for the record. Linnell Wilcox and Lori Walker.
Hi, my name is Linnell Wilcox, and I live in Ward 1. I'm very grateful that Salem has been selected for the Harvard Bloomberg project as a path for finding creative and collaborative ways to improve safety and livability in downtown and beyond. Yet the problem statement and ongoing conversations often correlate people experiencing homelessness as the reasons for less safety and livability. In reality, people experiencing homelessness have very little safety or livability. As we say, we're prioritizing safety and livability for all. The conversations are not reflecting that allness. Data collection is also not inclusive. The safety and livability surveys that were done in September and February contacted people based on cell phone records. Many people experiencing homelessness don't have cell phones or don't have ongoing coverage or ability to keep their cell phones charged. So the surveyed method cannot reflect the allness that is our stated goal and value. And the surveys didn't seem to poll the same individuals in both months, so it can't really reflect accurate data about change for better or for worse for unsheltered or sheltered individuals. As we speak about safety and livability and a thriving downtown, we're not discussing realities of a broken economy, fewer people having a disposable income, more people shopping online, and many people who no longer shop downtown because they need benches and restrooms. Many of those individuals help to shape downtown, but they can no longer enjoy it because they have needs that we just are not able to accommodate so far. I hope this project will grow to include collaborative and creative ways to reflect all people. Creating the clean team and expanding the host team and finally having the reach team are wonderful and necessary work. I'm so grateful for that. Safe Sleep United is receiving calls from those teams looking for beds for individuals who live outside. So much has been done to increase housing and shelter, yet we still don't have places for many, many people to be. So these teams can do so much good, yet they might not reduce unsheltered homeless significantly until we keep growing places for people to be. And I'm glad that's a very common goal. We are seeing more and more individuals who are experiencing mental illness. That's still a huge gap. There's people who are believing they're being raped in their sleep. And I can't even imagine the hell that would be. People who see the stars are drones that are following them everywhere. One woman presents so well, she can get a job easily, yet she believes that her grandfather is Fidel Castro, and once she starts talking about that at work a lot, she loses each job. There are people whose whole lives are interrupted by screaming voices that keep them awake all night, and that's their hell. The voices are happening not by them.
I'm sorry, your time has expired. Thank you for your testimony. Lori Walker and Valentin Lopez.
Press your green button, Lori. Put your green button.
Sorry. Okay, so good evening, everyone. I'm Lori Walker, resident of Ward 2. I'm a retiree of the state hospital, legal guardian, and advocate for unsheltered and mentally ill on our streets. As a participant of Bloomberg-Harvard collaborative group, I am thankful for the dedication of all the participants, the leaders who are here tonight. I am thankful for the REACH team, the homeless services team, and so many more. Moving forward, I believe negative comments by some downtown business owners keep some shoppers away, and I believe they need to stop scaring people, and they need to take responsibility for their role in why some shoppers don't come downtown. Moving forward, I believe Salem will need increased financial support from the county and the state, with the federal government cutting fundings that will affect many areas. The cuts will affect our services. We need to prepare. Moving forward, the lack of affordable housing and people on fixed incomes, disabled, struggling issues will continue, especially for seniors and the working poor. The shortage of psych beds and mental health treatment issues will continue to rise. Mayor Julie Hoy has proposed criminalization of unsheltered and mentally ill that, if passed, would make it harder for those folks with a criminal record to then rent somewhere. Being unsheltered, would you propose building a bigger jail to house those people at exorbitant prices? Facts matter. Families can barely afford rent and utilities, food, and gas now. If or when they become unsheltered, that won't make them criminals. That will make them more people in the homeless community. We need solutions for our broken mental health system. We need better mental health treatment and psych beds. They are us. They continue to be us. I have friends who have recently talked about how they can no longer afford their rent, utilities, food, gas. We need City Council to try to get more involvement and help from the county and the state. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Valentin Lopez and Linda Beerley.
Check. Hi, I'm Valentin Lopez. I'm an owner of a security company, so I've been living here in Salem, Oregon for about, off and on, Eugene and Salem for about 15 years. That's where I started my security company. So I love Salem a lot, especially in the downtown on Liberty. So at April, I see a lot of incident reports that every year transits are coming from out of states. The incident reports increases more and more and more and more. I have properties over there in Eugene, in downtown Eugene, commercial properties. So what we do, we patrol, and you know, a lot of families from out of states come to Salem because summer activities and stuff like that, and they're eating dinner at these nice restaurants and stuff like that. And then what we do, we just talk to the transients that you know, is there something we could do to help? Any resources and stuff like that, you know, to move along somewhere else. But in about an hour, they come right back. And we're there all day and stuff like that. And the downtown Salem, you know, I see it's increases of more travelers coming here and stuff like that. And it will be the same thing to have it here in Salem. Over there in Eugene, it's called Red Hats. They call it the Red Hats over there in Eugene. So over here, it would be an idea to have a security company with that experience and talk to the transients about that and stuff like that. So, yeah. What else? I'm just telling you guys from my experience, you know, I didn't bring no notes or nothing like that. I was just telling you guys my experience of with these transients and stuff like that. Housing, we do security of a couple housings. My service is discontinued because it's been 6 months they haven't paid me, so I had to discontinue security for housing. There's a lot of stuff going on in housing that's to be aware what's going on of these transients, bringing friends over and stuff like that. What else? I don't know. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Linda Beerley and Carol Snyder.
Okay, thank you. Hello, I'm Linda Beerley. I live in Ward 8. A very important part of this evening's agenda is the Salem Public Arts Commission and their annual report is the section on EcoEarth. A full staff report on EcoEarth, its history and current situation would be very helpful, but we don't have one. Currently, there are many opinions, but a shortage of information. Part of the strong opinions are due to the perception of a huge cost increase from the 2020 estimate and the 2024 and 25 estimates. $400,000 was the cost of repair from the 2020 estimate. What has changed is the work scope specified in the latest estimates. The 2020 estimate warned that unless the globe was maintained, it would deteriorate to the point that repair would no longer be possible. Repair would elevate to renovation, and the cost would increase to $1 million. Maintenance did not happen. The deterioration has apparently reached this tipping point, and now, according to the two estimates, the globe needs to be renovated at a cost of $1.5 million. This cost increase is not due to inflation. It is due to lack of maintenance, and it was predicted in the 2020 report. But the new reports also raise some questions, at least to me. Can the asbestos be contained rather than removed, as was recommended in the 2020 report? Can the cement substrate be patched rather than removed and replaced? Can the work scope be modified to lower costs and still complete restoration? The EcoEarth globe is unique. It is the largest and most valuable piece in Salem's public art collection. It is a local historic landmark. It is featured in almost every article and photograph of Riverfront Park. It deserves due diligence on the part of Salem staff and elected officials. Elected officials and the public deserve the opportunity to provide opinions and eventually decisions, but only after they have been provided with accurate information. This information should include the value of the EcoEarth globe, taking into consideration the value it adds to our city, particularly the Riverfront Park area, its history of citizen involvement, the attention given to it by visitors, and, if altered or removed, the cost of both these options for comparison with the cost of renovation. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Yes, Councilor Nishioka.
Linda.
Yes. Yes.
Thank you very much. I want to first thank you for your very dedicated work, coming to the budget meetings, coming to these meetings, coming to many neighborhood associations, and for the efforts that you have put in for the EcoEarth Ball for I don't know how many years, but I know it's several. And I know that at the budget meeting, we were here and we were trying to find ways to offer some suggestions. And again, I thank you for this new information that you've provided, sort of sharing how we're trying to figure this out. This is not really a question for her so much as thank you for all of your efforts. I know that my feeling is most of us feel that this is a very important art piece. It's just figuring out how to fund it.
Thank you. And I'll tell you, there's a whole cast of characters out there trying to. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Carol Snyder and Kathleen Treppa. It's on. Go right ahead. Nope. Push it one more time. There you go.
Hi. Good evening. I'm Carol Snyder, and I live in Ward 2. And I also wish to address the annual report of the Salem Public Arts Commission regarding EcoEarth. EcoEarth is a local treasure, a celebration of Salem's community spirit. More than 30,000 hours of volunteer labor over 5 years went into the creation of this colorful piece of art. It was gifted to the city in 2003. Both visitors and local residents are drawn to it. It's a favorite spot for selfies, selfies, and group photos. EcoEarth also celebrates the cultural, diverse community that Salem has become. 86,000 tiles make up the continents and oceans of our world, and over 200 handcrafted clay icons represent cultures, countries, religions, historic events, animals, and monuments that are special to the citizens of Salem. Many of these icons have suffered damage and have now been lovingly repaired or recreated by some of the original artists and current local art students. They are waiting to be affixed to a renewed surface. EcoEarth is still stunning at a distance, but up close, the effects of time and weather are obvious, and it has become an embarrassment. Its prominent placement in Riverfront Park near the Rotary Amphitheater, the carousel, the playground, and the Peter Courtney Bridge make it an eyesore that cannot be ignored. Now there's a new pathway about to be built, linking the Civic Center to Riverfront Park and ending very close to EcoEarth. Later this evening, you will be discussing a vibrant downtown. Riverfront Park has been called Salem's living room. Right now, the largest piece of furniture in that living room is looking really, really shabby, and more time will only cause more deterioration. So please, find room in the upcoming budget to start making this unique mosaic sculpture a source of local pride once more. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Kathleen Treppa.
Thank you very much, Kathleen Treppa. I'd like to express my support for the Downtown Ambassador Program that is proposed by Councilor Nishioka this evening. These types of programs exist in other cities and can be quite effective in helping residents and visitors navigate downtown services and businesses. These programs can be tailored to fit the community's needs, and with so much conversation about the need to improve the perception of safety downtown, I think an ambassador program is a much more cost-effective way to not only assist downtown businesses and residents, but also help deter some of the nuisance activity that business owners complain about. Ambassadors could help move people along that are sleeping in doorways. They can provide assistance at parking kiosks, offer directions, answer questions about city services, and they can escalate immediate needs to the police department or public works as appropriate. They could even escort individuals to cars and parking garages after dark, which is a concern that's been raised here previously. These are all things that police officers don't do. For a fraction of the cost compared to an officer, many more ambassadors could be deployed downtown to assist residents and business employees. And if police officers can be funded with parking revenue, I'm assuming the ambassadors could be as well. And since they wouldn't be assigned anywhere else, they would stay downtown, unlike downtown assigned police officers who could be redirected elsewhere in the city depending on call volume and service needs. A downtown ambassador program dovetails nicely within the goals of the Bloomberg Project and staff's efforts to develop a vision for a vibrant downtown. So I respectfully urge the council's support to direct staff to explore the development of a downtown ambassador program. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Moving on to the consent calendar. Chair Nishioka.
So I move approval of the consent calendar.
Second.
We have a motion and a second by Gwynn. Councilor, to your motion.
Thank you. The consent calendar consists of 3.1A, the April 13th, 2026 draft City Council minutes, and item 3.3B, small community air service deployment grant application for commercial air service recruitment. And that completes the consent calendar.
Great, thank you. Any questions? Seeing none, will the recorder please call the roll?
Councilor Vang absent. Councilor Nordyke.
Aye.
Councilor Varney.
Aye.
Councilor Tigan.
Aye.
Councilor Nishioka.
Aye.
Councilor Matthews.
Aye.
Councilor Gwynn.
Aye.
Councilor Brown.
Aye.
Mayor Julie Hoy.
Aye. All right, we have no public hearings this evening. We're moving on to special orders of business, and we'll start with 5A, the Annual Historic Landmarks Commission Report.
Good evening, Mayor Hoyle, city councilors. I'm Kara Kaiser. I'm the chair of the Historic Landmarks Commission, and I know many of you. It's good to see you again, as is many in the audience as well. So, wanted to provide the 2025 annual report to the council. And first of all, I'd like to say that the city of Salem has a extremely robust historic preservation program. And it's a model really to others in the nation. It's really been built over the last 15 years. So major kudos I want to put out to Kimberly Fitzgerald, our historic preservation officer for the city, and her colleagues, Jake Morris, as well as many before them. So we adopted our update to the 2020-2030 preservation plan 6 years ago. We are pleased to present you with this accomplishments in 2026 work plan from the HLC. Some highlights from 2025. We had our monthly HLC meetings and our tribal roundtable. The tribal roundtable especially has been very helpful in matters that come before the commission. We provided grants to both residential and commercial historic property owners. We are in our 11th year of our historic photo contest, and we're starting next month. May is Historic Preservation Month, so get ready. We actually have quite a few events to look forward to. We had our 8th year of the Qin Bean Festival, which Mayor Hoy participated in this year as well. That celebrates the Chinese community and some pretty rare cemetery, ceremonial types of things within the Pioneer Cemetery in Oregon. We did public archaeology work last year. I don't know if any of you were able to get down to a Willamette University site where we had, I think, a week long of activity happening there. And then we have our Heritage Neighborhood program. We have our 4th Heritage Neighborhood, which is SCAN. We have volunteers out there doing reconnaissance level surveys of, I think we're trying to survey something like 1,500 buildings there. So it's been a good effort. So the commission, we greatly appreciate Mayor, City Council for supporting our efforts to maintain Salem's historic resources, as well as your continued faith in our commission to successfully complete the good work of the city. And I just wanted to say on a very personal note, as I sit here in the audience and I listen and I reminisce and about being on council and everything, is I wanted to thank you for your service to the city. I have literally been in your place before, and I know what it's like. And I don't think each of you get the praise and recognition that you deserve to be unpaid volunteers for the city. So I want to personally thank you for that. And thank you for allowing me to give this report.
Yes, Councilor Nishioka.
Hi, Kara. Thank you. Can you tell us about a little bit more about the photo contest?
Sure. Yeah, we do our photo contest every May. I think it's open now. I think I saw something come along the Salem newsletter, but I can't remember if we have a theme this year. I'm trying to recall off the top of my head, but it's really kind of open. It can be landscapes, it can be buildings, it can be places, really anything. We invite all submissions, and then those will come to the commission to be judged, if you will. I mean, we're pretty generous, and I think we have a collaboration going with Willamette Heritage Center this year to display the winning photographs at the center after they're selected.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Anyone else? Questions? Thank you so much for all of your hard work and effort.
Thanks.
And that recognition bit, that was really something. Thank you. Okay. We are moving on then to item 5B, the Salem Public Art Commission Annual Report.
We should have a beautiful slide presentation happening. Hi, I'm Susan Napak. I'm in Ward 1. It's nice to be back here with you again. I was here last February. And we were a little delayed in getting to you this year because we've had a little bit of musical chairs with Salem Public Art Commission. We were in Public Works, and then we were in Parks, and now I think we are in our home of Neighborhood Services. So we're very happy to be in there. So starting the presentation, I did just want to start off on a little bit of a personal note. I wanted to say happy birthday to Mr. Atchison, and also note that my mom barely almost made it to her 98th birthday, which also was today. So I just have a little quote to start on by a very noted historian, and they said that arts and culture create community, which I highly believe in, and nurturing the human spirit makes a difference. So our Salem Public Art Commission works hard as we can as volunteers with the city staff and with you guys to make a difference. We had a lot of fun things happening this year. We added to the City Public Art Collection from the Library Foundation collection that was at the library. You may have thought that it all belonged to the city, but it was actually, they graciously donated 42 works, which bring the works, about 90 works in the library. And I think that we have about 140 works altogether in the collection. We had a great time last February moving some of the artwork that was at the Civic Center over here. You can see some of it behind you. There's some in the lobby over here. There's some in the library. And I think it looks so great, I think we should leave it here and then just add to the collection. But next is also super exciting with the Civic Center. We have our 0.5% for Art program. So we have about $130,000 to give to an artist to come up with an amazing artwork for the Civic Center. We're in phase 2 of that now. We have 12 artists that we have down from 24. That some of which were here just last week walking through the Civic Center. We had our hard hats on and all of our gear and showing them the sites. And you can see here the sites that we've chosen are to bring the most attention to our amazing brutalist architecture there. It could be either or some artists might think that they might work with both sites there, which would be really exciting. This is a project that we started with the Downtown Urban Renewal with the existing sculpture wells that are downtown. Some of them have sculptures, some of them don't. And there's one site also in West Salem. That is a TBD. That's kind of, we're waiting to hear from them. We kind of started the process, but we're very excited to see where that will go. Some repairs, a lot of the focus of the art collection is to see what's going on with the existing collection. Does it need repair? What can we do about it? And this was just really exciting. We had Britta Franz, who she and her husband initially donated these black discs, this sculpture, and they were on hand when it was reinstalled after we had it renovated by Lee Immonen, who's actually a very prominent artist who has work in the Oregon collection here in Salem, and they did a fantastic job. It wasn't quite a ceremony, but it was very auspicious when we did it. And you've heard about the Eco Earth Globe. Can you imagine Salem without the Eco Earth Globe? It's the largest piece of public art. It's very sad what's going on with it. Linda and Carol, told you all about what's going on, and the Public Art Collection, the Public Art Commission is working with them and to come up with solutions, and hopefully we'll be working with you too to see what we can do about this. It's a very important piece of art. Murals. This is our newest mural in town. It's at Raised Produce, where we are also working to make it easier to do murals in Salem. We want to see more art in Salem. We want to see more murals. We're working on trying to make it easier and also to promote businesses and neighborhoods, really, to do more murals. We also do some advising because we are the only art entity that the city has. So Public Works came to us and said they've been knocking down these signs at River Road and Broadway, and they wanted to put up signs that wouldn't get destroyed if they got knocked into. So they have a whole way that ODOT, worked with them on getting these signs, and they wanted to know what should it look like. So we said, well, there is an existing style guide for Salem, and there's also an existing emblem, and it was nice to see it up on the screen there with the new flag cherry blossom. So they came up with this signage, which incorporates a lot of the original design elements, and I drive past this a lot, so that's actually a real shot of the sign that's there now. City art projects, we kind of work with the street painting program. The circles there I'm particularly proud of, the roundabouts on Hood and Winter and Cottage, because that's my neighborhood, Grant neighborhood, and we initiated the street painting program. Those are the most recent ones we did last year, and I'm sure you're aware of all the really, really wonderful job that they did with the utility box wrap, which is the Downtown Development Corporation did that. And those are all details of works within our wonderful Salem Art Collection. And community awareness and promotion is something that, in particular, that I am really focused on. Is we have a public art collection, but if nobody knows about it, what is it? So we started something last year called Slow Art Day, and we just did it again. It's an international event. It happened this year on the 11th, and April 11th, and I located some artworks within the collection, and it just so happened that last year we had Nancy Lindbergh is up there, one of our treasured artists who have work in the collection. She was on hand. This year we had 3 other artists that were Salem artists that came, and we looked at the artwork for 10 minutes, 3 artworks, and then we had a wonderful discussion. We met in the library. We had about 20 people. Last year we had about 15 people. So maybe next year we'll have 30 people. We'll see. We have the interactive kiosk that's a little out of order at the moment, but that should, in the library, people will be able to take a look at the art collection from the city's website. Something new that we're starting is, once this presentation is done tonight, we're going to take it on the road. We're going to go to neighborhood associations, and we're going to talk to them about the city art collection and things that they can do in their neighborhood. Social media, we work through the city, so it's a little dicey. We try to get information out there as much as we can. And of course, labeling and signage is always a big thing. We have some artworks out there. The signage is completely bleached out. We know it, we're aware of it, and we're working on it. And then we have our ongoing projects. One of them is we have a database of all of the art in the collection. If you look up here, you'll see it still says Library Foundation. It's no longer, that piece no longer belongs to the Library Foundation. It belongs to the public art collection. So we're working with city staff, hopefully very soon, on updating this database, knowing exactly where everything is, knowing what condition it's in, and so that we can keep better track of it. We're looking to update city code. We have some questions about copyright, whether the city retains the copyright or whether the artist retains the copyright. We're looking to relax the easement on the mural requirements. We're looking to be able to do murals on retaining walls, city-owned retaining walls, and of course temporary art. We're still working on that, and the latest on that is if it's an event, it can be temporary art. So we're happy about that. And also enhancing the collection with other prominent Salem local artists, which is something that's near and dear to my heart. And that's it. Thank you, City Council, for your support and for having a public art commission and allowing us to make Salem better. Any questions?
Great presentations. Anyone have questions? Yeah, Councilor Matthews.
I have a question. I'm not sure if it be for you or for staff, but it's about the eco-earth. And so when, I think one of the people that came and gave comment mentioned that it was given to the city in 2003. I think right before that is kind of when the tiles and everything were put on there. Is that right?
I'm sorry, I didn't catch the question.
So I heard from one of the other people that gave public comment that it was given to the city in 2003, and I'm assuming the tiles and everything were originally put on Eco Earth just slightly before that, kind of 2000 time.
Well, I assume that when it was created, it was given to the city. I don't know. Was there a time frame?
It started in 1999. It was
Okay.
3 years, 5 years.
Okay.
Okay.
Did you hear that?
Yeah,
Started
99.
in 99, 3-year process, and then I guess it became part of the public art collection. That was before my time, so I'm not exactly sure when
That's
that happened.
fine. The reason I ask is because my understanding is one of the reasons that the cost is so high is because of the asbestos with the ball. Is that correct with the tiles?
I don't think that's the only issue. I think it's having to take everything off and then put everything back on again at this point.
It's reassembling. Okay, because I thought one of the people last time had mentioned that it was because of the asbestos that it was a large cost because they have to be so cautious with making sure that it's not spreading and everything else. But with that, the abatement of it, but with that era of timeline of it being constructed, asbestos wasn't a readily used product. And so I just wanted to make sure that that wasn't one of the barriers. But like I say, you may not be the right person for that question.
I think from what I understood, and you can correct me, was that they were going to evaluate whether that needed to be done or not, whether a full remediation needed to be done or not, once they started to work on it.
Gotcha. Okay. Thank you.
Anyone else? Yes.
Go ahead, Dr. Brown.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. Thank you so much for the presentation. I just enjoy, listening to the updates when it involves art. And when I think about Northeast, especially that you're going to be partnering with our neighborhood associations, I would definitely say that we would love the opportunity for you to come out and visit, especially when it comes to the Highland Neighborhood Association and also Northgate. Because when I think about the work that's been going on there for years, from having the painted murals with Chair Mintram and his wife. They've just done tremendous work. And so having the opportunity for you to come out and share more about how we can partner together would be great. Not only for that, but also, we have the hugest population of our Spanish speakers in our city in Northeast. And so just finding some relevant art that could be, embraced by all the community members would be a huge plus. And so just know if you want to come out and start in Ward 5, we would throw out the red carpet treatment for you. So
I look forward to it.
thank you.
Thank you.
Councilor Nishioka, go ahead.
Thank you. Well, Susan, temporary art. I'm looking forward to events that can be representing temporary art and something that doesn't have to go into the collection but can bring a community together. And just to remind everybody, temporary art can be up for 2 years and still be considered temporary. But wanting to see more art that doesn't necessarily have the burdensome maintenance costs for an extended period of time. So I'm really grateful that the council passed that motion that I made, and hopefully we'll be able to see something happen so we can get to feel what that could be for our community. Thank you.
Thank you. I think there's some things brewing, so you'll hear about that soon.
Councilor Tigan.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Susan, thank you for the presentation. And, I think it comes at a opportune time for us just in terms of this really big question of maintaining the largest piece of public art in our collection. As our collection is growing, I kind of want to ask, how should we think about that relationship to growing the public art collection, which we feel like is really important, and also funding and taking on with that the maintenance. Even a oil painting hanging on the wall needs some sort of maintenance. It's not all as extravagant as the Eco Earth. But we don't need to get into a philosophical question about the value of art. I might suggest that the commission spend some time thinking about what the city could do to establish some sort of long-term maintenance fund, whether it's a private endowment that the commission itself fundraises or something like that. But I'm not sure we have a great handle on what our long-term commitments are, especially when it comes to thinking about I think you said the beautiful, brutalist walls of our city. If we're going to put in very large art, what does it look like to maintain that in the long run? So 50 years from now, the city council that is faced with that question might have an answer ready. I don't expect you to know the answer tonight, but I think it'd be great to have the commission spend some time on that and chew on it on our behalf.
I think that's a great point, and it's something that we have discussed about maintenance and how there really isn't a plan for that, so thank you.
Anyone else? Well, I'm hopeful that this artwork will look better on the new walls in the new chambers. So,
yeah, it should be great.
Thank you so much for the presentation. All right, we are moving on now to the long-awaited item 5C, reporting on Salem's use of the Bloomberg-Harvard cross-boundary collaboration framework in downtown Salem. Welcome, everyone. Good evening. This is us. Thank you, Cody. Presentation? Perfect. Good evening, everyone. Courtney Knox Bush, Assistant City Manager and Director of Strategy and Engagement. These are my colleagues, our group of 7 that we took representing our community in Cambridge. I was actually going to do this off a slide, so sit down so I can. Oh. We have a slide for this, but this is them. It's a great honor to be the lead-off batter for our team this evening. We have this group of 7. We're missing 1 member, but we'll be there in a second. And we're also representing the larger group of 30 that were seated to this collaboration. And there are a couple members in the audience I want to acknowledge really quickly. We heard earlier from Linnell Wilcox and Lori Walker, part of our group of 30. And then I saw Elizabeth Infante is over here also. Oh. She just left, also part of our group of 30, but we had great collaboration from people from across our community. Our group of 7 represented, as I mentioned, this community and that larger collaboration in March at Harvard. And tonight, what we're going to be doing is focusing on reporting out to you about that progress. I'm going to advance the slide so that I can do the introduction like I wanted. So tonight you'll also hear from members of our team, and on the slide you can see, moving from left to right, Roberto Garcia, who is a West Salem Neighborhood Association member, as well as working for the Salem Leadership Foundation. You can see Assistant Chief Brandon Ditto, and you can see Assistant Chief Tig Harmon. Right in the middle in the yellow is Debbie Wells, and she represents Marion County with behavioral and other health. Debbie unfortunately sends her regrets. She was unable to be here today. She had a scheduling conflict. And then you can see Tiffany Bolgen, who represents Isaac's, just Isaac's, and the Ike Box. And then you can see Nicole Oots, who you've heard from earlier this evening, Salem Housing Authority, and myself. So this is our group. And we're going to start by hearing from Nicole a little bit to give you orientation to what Third Space is.
Good evening. I'm Nicole. I'm part of the Third Space. And when you think about the Third Space, we came up with this creative name. We wanted to really kind of incorporate not your space, not my space, but it's everybody's space. So that's how we came up with the Third Space. And the team throughout this entire event was known as the Third Space from Salem. So I want to take a moment to talk about what we're seeing in the downtown Salem, and I'm going to do that in a way that keeps people at the center of this conversation. Many of us in different roles and from different perspectives are noticing more visible and sometimes unpredictable behavioral health challenges in our downtown spaces. Alongside that, there have also been an increase in certain types of activity that can make people feel uneasy. And when those things happen together, it starts to shape how the downtown feels. For some, that means it feels harder to comfortably walk through the area, visit a business, or spend time downtown the way they used to. For business owners and employees, it can mean more disruptions during the day, and for community members, it can create a sense of uncertainty even if they care deeply about this space. At the same time, it's really important to pause and recognize that many of the individuals we're seeing are people who are struggling with behavioral health needs, housing instability, or both. These are complex human situations, and they deserve thoughtful and respectful responses. What we're really talking about here is a shared impact. We're seeing changes in how safe and welcoming downtown feels. We're seeing fewer people spending time there, and that affects the energy and vitality of the whole area. And when that happens, it becomes harder for downtown to function as a space that works well for everyone. So as we name this problem, we're not pointing fingers. We're naming a reality that many people are experiencing in different ways. And the reason this matters, because it gives us a shared starting point. From there, we can begin to ask, how do we respond in a way that supports the whole community, to include businesses, residents, visitors, and especially those who are most vulnerable? That's the work we're stepping into together.
Yes. Good evening, everyone. Brandon Ditto, your Assistant Chief of Police. I just want to say thank you for having us here, and thank you for assembling this team. Madam Mayor, councilors, birthday boy Dan, I want to say thank you. So why did we join this program? In essence, we were invited, we applied, and were accepted as part of this program. There was complex challenges facing us throughout the downtown core. We saw them in the police department, and the fire department saw them as well, and a number of other service providers saw the same challenges. They didn't revolve around one person, one group, one area of downtown. We saw challenges that were complex, that needed a strategic framework to solve. It was straining our resources. We saw a lot of members of our community falling through the cracks, and we knew that as a city, we could not solve this alone. So understanding this, we found a way through this Bloomberg-Harvard program to grow a collaborative effort amongst 30 people in our community and found a way forward to our next steps. And that brings us to our initial problem statement from Roberto.
Good evening. We obviously didn't rehearse. We don't know who's standing, who's sitting. So thanks for your patience. And so I want to talk about the problem statement. But first, I need you guys to hear that as we gathered with our group of 30, we gathered to try to determine what we're going to focus on. And we could spend a lot of time hearing from our community, hearing from different voices. And depending on who you ask, we had a lot of opportunity to look at problems in our community. But we wanted to just narrow it down and determine that we were going to focus on this. Let me just read it for you. So our problem statement developed: highly visible, unpredictable behavioral health crises are occurring in Salem's downtown. We wanted to identify that. It's downtown. Others, we've spoken about this. Other people have talked about this. The downtown is our living room. We talked about the art. But so much of what we wanted to focus on was starting in downtown. Concurrent increases in criminal activities are eroding public safety. I don't think anybody can argue with that. Together, these trends are undermining perception of safety, cleanliness, and well-being within downtown, reducing foot traffic and economic vitality, while making public spaces harder to navigate for everybody. You guys have to understand, we took a lot of the information, a lot of the data, and we narrowed it down to this. With the work and effort that we did as a group of 30, then down to our group of 7, this is the problem statement that we wanted to focus on. So we'll go next. And I'm back. The collaboration framework. So understand we're empowered with a lot of tools from the faculty and staff at Harvard University, as well as the Bloomberg program. This is just one example of that. This strategic triangle was kind of a guiding point for us.
that center point is a coalition built, but understanding what is the public value in what we're trying to solve, what resources, partners we can align with, and how do we build trust with groups that may not see eye to eye. It would certainly be nice if everybody saw eye to eye, but it would be a very boring world. So first we had to select people and build trust. We found different ways to do that within our groups. We broke out from our group of 30 into 7 smaller groups. And with that, we found agreement on some area of the problem that we want solved. It wasn't the whole problem. It didn't sound like exactly how it came out of every person's mouth, but we had some shared agreement on some objectives and a workable plan. And then we gathered more stakeholders. We set up our structure and our communication plan, and then we thought about how are we going to secure resources to measure our progress and adjust in time. So think of it like a pilot project, and that's what we'll be talking about a little bit later tonight when we talk about entry points. But understand that this is a very deliberative framework that's been built and tested hundreds of times, and at the core of this, it's to replicate this elsewhere in the city. So it's not just to focus on downtown, and from there the work is done. It's to show that we can model this and use this elsewhere to make the entire community better.
Good evening. I'm Tiffany, and I just want to say thank you, Mayor, and everybody who invited our group of 30 to be involved and then invited us to go to Harvard. It was an amazing experience. I'm going to talk about who's involved. So a couple really cool things about our group of 30, as you can see on the slide, is that it's a real cross-sector of representation of our community. When we got to Harvard and we were with 13 other cities from around the world, and there was over 100 of us, one of the things we quickly learned is that a lot of the cities just brought city employees to Harvard. Our city brought me, who represents nonprofit work and also business community downtown, and we also brought Roberto, who represents our neighborhoods and our community. And what I felt that was incredibly important when we're dealing with very complex issues is to have the collaboration of views and how we see the issue. And so that was really cool. And then also our group of 30, the other thing we learned in Harvard is that other cities are not still working with their group of 30. That the goal was to have a group of 30 convene and then get the group of 7 to Harvard, and then it would be mainly that group. But our group of 30, each one of us 7 are heading a committee out of that group that brings those 30 voices continually back to the table. We've already reconvened our group of 30 once together, and now we're about to start meeting again with our committees. And the staff at Bloomberg was very impressed with that. And I just wanted to thank you guys, for those of you that wasn't me, but thanks for the brain power that thought to, because I really do, every meeting we've had, I think we can all get into our little bubbles and our own perspective. And with every meeting we've had, my perspective has been widened. And I think in every group session that we had in Harvard with just the 7 of us, just the 7, because we brought people that had very different perspectives of the issue, all of our perspectives were widened and we're able to look at it in a lot broader perspective. So I'm really grateful for that. But as you can see, we've got city departments, we've got business owners, property owners, nonprofits, residents, and community advocates, and neighborhood leaders. So I think you guys can be really proud of the group that was chosen as far as how wide and broad the vision is and the perspective.
So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about how the steps that we took to get here. There is a much deeper conversation about this in your packets for this evening, but the short end of it is that we had the opportunity to assemble the group. We started in October. We had help and support from the Bloomberg-Harvard team that first visit. And from then on, we were on our own with their support simultaneously, if that's possible, but they have not come back to town. But we're grateful for the collaboration. And so we convened in October, and then in January, we started building these smaller groups to ensure everyone in the whole 30 that we could be representing their perspectives when we came to Harvard. So we've been having fabulous Tuesday morning, bright and early, 7:30 till 10 classes for the 6 weeks heading in. This group of 30 participated in preparing individually, the group of 7, preparing individually for each week's course, and then preparing together our homework assignments. So it was a pretty intense thing to ask of these community members to come and volunteer alongside us and prepare for this work. So in addition to getting themselves ready through the Bloomberg courses, we were also moving the larger participation along through concentrated conversations about perspectives we were sharing. Bless you. So that's our primary timeline. We reassembled when we got back from Harvard, and as Tiffany mentioned, we're continuing those conversations. The primary theme here is collaboration and iteration, so constantly evaluating where you are, what you've learned, and whether there's more things to learn. This is one of the tools. Do not be scared. This is one of the tools that we were given. This is called a fishbone. You can see how all of the bones push towards the problem, and each of the things hanging off of the fish is a cause. And so you ask yourself, what is a part of this problem? And you can dive deeper and deeper and deeper. I'm going to just tell you the answers on this next slide, which is a little daunting. But this is an example of the work that we all did together. This is not the end-all of every conversation about the problems in downtown. This is the universe of perspectives that we brought to the table. So if you understand the problem as the fish head, highly visible, unpredictable behavioral health crises, eroding public perception of safety, with the intent to change how things are perceived, increase foot traffic, have better economic vitality, and have places feel safer for everybody. As you consider that problem, you start to ask yourself, why? And the first cause is fragmented dispatch and referral. So why is this problem occurring in downtown? Because we have fragmented dispatch and referral. Why? Because we have insufficient behavioral health and housing capacity. Why? Because we have excess vacant business and office spaces in downtown. Why? Because we have some deficits in upkeep that are degrading perceptions. Why? Because we have misaligned funding and policy. And then why? Because we have some negative perceptions of downtown that are widely held and unchallenged. And you can see all the sub-causes start to build out the rest of the fishbone. So this is an example of some of the work that we did together. Again, rapid iteration, not the end, certainly a beginning point for our to represent our work together. And then I think this is tied.
Just looking at that last slide, it's really hard to imagine how many iterations we went through to get to just what seems like a very daunting slide. It was really a unique opportunity because of what Harvard and Bloomberg did. We were able to dedicate all of our time and energy, all of our temporal needs were taken care of. Our employers and family and friends allowed us to be there and engage in this project solely. We were able to share all of our issues with other communities that were having similar issues, and they were able to provide feedback on the presentations, and we would go back and look at what are the causes, what do we miss, what are the gaps that we're not seeing that other people could see based on what we presented, because as Tiffany alluded to, we would see it through our view, and other people could look at it, what we presented, give us new ideas, ways to come back, iterate, find new gaps and causes to get us where we're at. One of the benefits was we learned new things about a problem that we took there, and we were able to analyze in a different way, look at ways in which we can find entry points that are going to be successful here in our community. How do we bring those things back home? Communities that have tried similar things or failed or want to do things and were kind of living through our process in ways they could do the same thing. really this allowed us to not only foster new collaborations and new relationships, but to build new ones and definitely to strengthen the ones we have already, and how do we use them differently. And that's where we created our entry points that we think is going to allow us to be successful here in our community. And then as Chief Ditto mentioned, use this process through other entry points in the city, other projects we have moving forward. It was an amazing opportunity, probably a once in a lifetime, but something hopefully we can replicate here locally.
I'm back up. So what does success look like? Success means cleanliness and safety in the downtown corridor and less disruption to visitors, residents, and businesses, fewer calls for service, and ability for our police and fire to attend to higher priority calls for service. Businesses feel supported, and our outcomes are systematic. Cleaning occurs and improvements are visible to all involved, and better outcomes and well-being for those living unsheltered. Business and office spaces are actively in use, and positive feedback from visitors, residents, and businesses. Increased foot traffic and increased public support provides momentum for future projects. So hopefully this entry point will help us increase our public support and momentum to increase more entry points into the future. Here.
So Courtney mentioned one of our tools utilized, which was our fishbone, and this is our flipped fishbone. So as you're looking at this, it's a common theme of what I will say to folks all the time is just assume positive intent and how that could change the world, right? If we assume positive intent, what would we all look like if we didn't assume the absolute negative of what could possibly be possible? This flip fishbone is exactly that. What it is what's the simplest and smallest version of our problem solved? It looks like a downtown Salem that's safe, clean, public spaces are welcoming, sidewalks are busy, housing options are plentiful, and storefronts are active. That's a tall order, but when you look at the capabilities needed, those are all achievable. These are all things that we can tackle in different ways. And I don't need to go down the line, but as you read through that, that's exactly what you'll see, is that if you're assuming that we can look at this problem solved, what does that really look like? And then you start moving toward that objective. With our next slide, I'll talk about our entry point. An entry point to a problem is just a specific and actionable opportunity to improve. It's not the solution to everything that we're talking about, not at all. It's a shared project or even a pilot that builds momentum for future efforts, so think of it like that. When we came to this, we came to something that sounds so matter-of-fact, so simple, right? But it takes a lot of effort and a lot of collaboration to get there on a continuous basis. Why did we pick a community cleanliness campaign? Because one, we have some ability to attend to some resources now. We have our downtown paid parking, so we have some revenue built there being generated. We have high level of agreement with a clean and safe downtown for all community members, residents, everyone who is involved in this, all the people that were mentioned earlier on. It's high visibility. It creates momentum for future projects. It's like making your bed in the morning. We want to start the day fresh, clean in this area, and we want that to grow. We want Salem to be shining. How are we going to do this? Early morning cleanups. We've already engaged with our REACH team, our homeless services team, and understanding what the cycle would look like to continuously provide service and be proactively engaging with folks, business owners, our unsheltered population in the downtown core, and making sure that our spaces are clean in the morning. It gives us an opportunity to connect with folks because we're being intentional about it. We've talked about we're working on a phone application that for that smaller core of the population, like we've talked about the kind of the living room of our community right now, how can they report incidents quicker? How can they get them to the teams that need the information that can respond timely? And so we're developing a process for an application just for that, just to that point. We want to coordinate service response in all areas. The Safe, Clean, and Healthy efforts are directly in line with this. Thank you for the efforts you all have made for to create a 7-day service. So this won't be just a one-time effort for anything. This can be continuous daily efforts. And also planned volunteer events. Like we've heard about tonight, there's been a number of volunteer events that people have done, and they've been doing incredible work. Our community is ready to step up and do more. Tiffany will talk a little bit more about this because one of our partners on our team of 30 has just proposed some more assistance for us on a volunteer basis.
So like Brandon said, this was a quick win. Why is that? Because there's already been so much work started in this direction, correct? So this shows you the capacity and support that we already felt like was there currently to get this going. So as he mentioned, we have this homeless services team, we've got the clean team, and then, you know, recently a successful launch of the REACH team through the fire department in Marion County. And then on the right side, you just see a lot of community and volunteer support. So we've got Main Street, we've got the neighborhoods, we've got Chamber, we have volunteers. You know, we heard earlier Councilor Nordyke talking about volunteers. What Brandon was alluding to was that Craig Smith, the UGM executive director, is in the group of 30, and he just said that they are going to start putting vests on guys that are in their recovery program and getting them out there cleaning ASAP. So that was pretty cool. So this group of 30 is already moving in that direction. And then the paid on-street parking. We went to Harvard not knowing everything, but at least knowing that there was a new stream of revenue that could help support this. I know that on Thursday we've got downtown business stakeholders meeting happening, and I've been working with some social media people, downtown social media people, to try to start a campaign of sorts that can help us spread the news of what's happening good downtown. We're starting to make some work, but as you can see, the capacity and support was already there. This group of 7, although we're energetic and we represent a lot of places, you know, it was very overwhelming to sit there at Harvard and iterate and iterate and iterate on the issue and then think about all the work that we want to get done. And obviously you guys understand this. I was preaching to the choir, but we were so excited to make this slide and to realize that we were coming home with already a full bag of tricks, right? And that really we can just help start keeping that ball going, and with, as Brandon mentioned, with the app and with early cleaning and some other things, just help start the momentum. I think that was it. Thanks.
One more time. Excuse me. And so next I'm going to talk about the public value proposition. And so what's really important is we read this, we'll address cleanliness, unpredictable behaviors, and perceived lack of safety in downtown because we want to create pride in our community, vitality for businesses, and meaningful connections for all who want to live, work, play, and visit in downtown. So much of this is really reflective on what the image of downtown can be. When we start talking about downtown, what are we saying? I'll be honest with you, one of the impactful things that when I came back from Boston, the next following several weekends, my wife and I, we went downtown. We went and we shopped. We ate downtown. We spent time downtown because so much of this, that we spent so much time talking about doing something different. It really is, so much of this is when we talk about something in a negative way, it multiplies, right? But when we go and we participate in something good, we heard Councilor Nordyke about the cleanup teams, picking up trash. So many organizations are trying to make a difference with the art, with the beautiful pieces that we have in our city. When we start looking at the beauty that we have in our city and we're experiencing it, well, then we get to multiply that. We get to multiply the good in our city. And one of the beautiful things I was able to present when we were in Boston, and we talked about the fact that we're representing Salem. For me, I'm always reminding people that Salem is the city of shalom. It's a city of peace. And so I want to continue to multiply that, the good word, the good efforts of good people in our city. So we propose to make a difference. We want to come together. We want to make an impact. And so then the last paragraph is we will start with coordinated cleanup campaigns with our partners. Some of the partners we've talked about. You guys have heard some, but not all, of the efforts that are going to be begin shortly. So we will know that we're successful when cleaning occurs regularly, improvements are visible, and businesses and public spaces are actively in use. You will see the difference, and when we see that difference, our desire and our hope is that then we can start telling others about that. It's going to get better, and we can't help but talk about it, and that's our desire. So I think Courtney's going to finish this out.
So to wrap this up, we just want to make sure that we end on this note, which is, again, well, there's a couple more slides, but this note is really about what our problem could look like if we solve it. And I think there's that. We're zeroing in tonight on the entry point, but please recognize that all of these other capabilities that we've identified through this constant iteration and all of these perspectives that we've brought to the table so far, these other capabilities could also be entry points. We're not done. We're getting started. Sorry, guys. We're getting started, and we're continuing to iterate. And the more times that we talk about this, the more times that we get more perspectives, the better we are going to be, and the more progress we can make, and the more entry points we can identify. If you're looking up there at the other capabilities, you might have a little hesitation or trepidation about tackling some of those other things. And that's why, again, an entry point, as Brandon was discussing, is about some place that you can start, make progress, have high visibility of change, prove your theory, and then start to take other things on. But again, at the base of all of this is iteration and engaging other perspectives. So I want to just make sure everybody's clear on that. The next thing I want to address is some of the more discrete, near-term next steps. As you know, it turns out we've been back a month. And that seems hard to believe, but we've been back a month. We have gotten back out into our smaller groups, and we've convened the larger group of 30, and we are continuing to spread the word. We're here now, tonight, with the council, and we're going to be continuing to build this message and get more and more and more input. And one of the things I want to make sure, it was in your report, but I want to make sure to highlight, is that we also, this is a gift that keeps giving. When we first started Safe, Clean, and Healthy in those conversations, we were responding to community concern and valid concerns that were coming here, and we were hearing about them everywhere. We identified that there were 2 areas of town that we had concerns about based on some of the data we have from police and fire and some of the other feedback we were getting, downtown and northeast. And we started first in downtown, and we always intended to continue this collaborative effort into northeast, and that's our next step. And so I think Alessandra is still here. Alessandra, would you stand up for just a second? Sorry to embarrass you. This is Alessandra. She is our Bloomberg-Harvard Fellow. We successfully competed for her as a resource. Thank you, Alessandra. She's here just for a couple of days to get oriented and find a place to live. And then she's coming back on June 15th when we will begin the next iteration of this collaboration. And I want to just make sure that we're clear to address the differences, perhaps, in Safe, Clean, and Healthy and what we're talking about doing in Northeast. Safe, Clean, and Healthy has been branded really as the city's-led initiative, right? We have HST to 7 days a week. We have Clean Team to 7 days, all great things. We have REACH. All of these things are fabulous, and they're spreading in both downtown and Northeast. And what we've done here, in my opinion, through this collaboration, is we've invited perspectives and we've given over to what it is people want to achieve, all of those different perspectives coming together. It's not city-led, it's not city-driven, it's city-engaged. And we're doing the same thing, proposing to do the same thing, using many of these same tools that we've gotten from Bloomberg-Harvard in Northeast. And we're planning to begin on June 15th when Alessandra joins us. And so that's very exciting to us. Then are you doing this? This generally is the concept of what we're talking about. As you could see, each one of these targets represents like 5 or 6 different tools that we had the privilege to work through. We found the ones that we think work best for us and our community, and we're going to keep using them. So the basic primary idea of cross-boundary collaboration is you think there's a problem, and you invite a bunch of different perspectives into the room to talk to you about what the problem means to them and what's most important to them to take next, to do next. You construct, you deconstruct, that's code for the fishbone, and reconstructing it. You're going to see a lot more of those. And then you use that entry point to really start driving the experimentation, the iteration, the progress, the data that you hope to see. And then you keep iterating. So you've heard us say that a lot. Lots of iteration. So that's generally how we want to continue to approach what we're doing in downtown and expand collaboration to the Northeast in June. Does anyone have anything else that we didn't say? No? Good. All right. Thank you so much. We look forward to any of your questions.
Does anyone have questions? Councilor Varney.
Okay, here's the scientist in me. The part that, thank you. Great presentation. I loved all the work and everything. It seems like a really good start. I looked at success. It said improvements are visible. But to me, that can't be just perception because that's going to vary by individual. So one thing that I didn't see here, and I'm thinking of the flipped fishbone. Whoops, I just changed my page here. So my question is, what data points are you going to be using that you can measure so that you can actually measure the success, since perception varies so much? And I thought you could probably put those under the flipped fishbone. That's what I was thinking. And for each box, what are those measurable things that you're going to be tracking?
Thank you so much for the question, Councilor Varney. There are many things that did not make our PowerPoint tonight. This is the origination story of this PowerPoint presentation is that we were given 5 minutes at the end of our week before our classmates at Harvard, and there was playoff music. So we were very constrained to 5 minutes. There are, in many of these iterations that we've been through, we had discrete measures, but they've just been boiled up and up into this higher presentation, higher level presentation. And I know that we had a lot of data that we were considering in the early stages, and I'm sure we can pull it back up and add it back to the presentation. Thank you so much for the feedback.
Councilor Nordick.
Thank you. A tremendous amount of work, and I know we're just observing the tip of the iceberg, so thank you, every single one of you and everyone else who participated who wasn't able to be here tonight. I like the flipped fishbone concept, and the one space that I highlighted on here is capability 2 needed. The right space is available to meet individual need, in parentheses, behavioral health system and shelter to housing continuum. And I say that because I just want to emphasize something that I've learned firsthand from our homeless service team officers. You can tell people where they can't be, but you got to be able to tell them where they can be. And if we don't have enough shelter, thank you. If we don't have safe places for people to go, then all the work you do on outreach will be for nothing. So I know that in the city of Salem, we don't have the same kind of shelter funding support we used to. Years ago, when I was newer on council, the state of Oregon gave us a one-time $10 million grant that we could only spend on housing and shelter. And we spent it because we were required to, because we had to, and we had to do it within a certain amount of time. We were able to add 1,000 shelter beds, and it was amazing. And people lived indoors, and women were no longer being sex trafficked, and people were getting off drugs, and seniors could live with dignity indoors. Good things were happening. But that money can't last and won't last forever. So I just want to reemphasize that this plan will only work if you fund the entire spectrum from start to finish, from that first contact on the street until someone has a roof over their head. The work will not be done. Thank you.
Anyone else? Yeah, Councilor Brown.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. Great presentation, team, so thank you for sharing. I do have some technical questions, and I'll probably just put these in an email and send them to you that way. But one of the first ones I want to ask, it's about budget-wise. I know you mentioned earlier that we're going to be using some of the funds that comes through our parking initiatives, Beep Beep Salem. Is that the plan going forward, that we're going to tap into that particular fund to fund this going forward?
So I know there are a lot of other conversations that need to occur about how we're going to use the parking revenues. I get it. I know there are a lot of other conversations that still need to happen as we go through the rest of this year's budget and beyond about that. So we assume that there will be some resources. I think all of us do. And it's just a conversation among council about how those resources might be best allocated to support all of the things that have been discussed, and also the feedback that we've had from the business community about how they would like those resources to be used. So I think it's a bigger conversation.
Got it. Follow-up, Madam Mayor? So when you think about just the selection of folks that are here, the 7 and of course the 30, is there a discussion to how long these individuals will serve? Meaning, let's say, I'm gonna just pick on Assistant Chief Ditto because he'll be okay with me picking on him. So let's say he has no plans to move from Salem, leave Salem anytime soon, and he's a part of this team. And let's just say, 2 years from now, he's still on the team. Is there a discussion as to who, if he decides, hey, I think we should pass this on to someone else? Is there a discussion about that?
Do you want me to answer for you? I think that what we know inherently is that people change, lives change, and we anticipate and expect that there might be some shifts. I think generally we know what kind of composition, like we want members from our resident community, we want members who are representing the unsheltered and advocates for those folks who are living unsheltered in our community. We know we want the composition of the collaboration, and there are probably perspectives that we haven't yet invited that we also need to invite. So I think we understand that over time, that group of 30 may change a bit. Certainly, if we are successful and we tackle some of these things, we might be looking for other perspectives to come into the conversation. So I think we're trying to be fluid, but we know that 30, generally, you can get a really good cross-section of community perspectives in the room. Do you want to address that specifically, sir?
Since he's here.
Yeah, thank you, Councilor Brown. Not much to address there other than, I'm not going anywhere. So, no, the reality is again, this is a model, and so people can come in and out of this model over the years, but it's an evidence-based model that we saw over not just the United States, but across the world. They've been able to utilize these tools and these strategies to have lasting change. And so there was examples, throughout St. Louis, and then we have smaller examples in different pockets of, from the smallest communities to the largest cities across the planet. And this model was working for them. And so that's where they came to this. It was just a bulk of research behind it. So I think, yes, that's the goal, is that we build this and that any of us could step out at any time, be replaced, and step into the model. And there's enough bones to it that we can continue this work in the right way and make sure that we're not spinning our wheels. We're making progress. Our efforts are not for, again, we're a very resource-constrained city, and that's from the police and fire department to the library. Across this city, everybody's doing 10 jobs, so we have to be expertly efficient, and that's what this does for us, is it provides that efficiency so we can make sure we're making the right decisions, we're testing, we're learning fast, and if we fail, we move another direction and adjust. So that's what this builds for us. So even if I didn't, it did go somewhere. Somebody could take my place easily. So.
Right. And I appreciate hearing you say that, and also, Madam CSO, thank you. I think, for those folks that may be watching it at home or just here in this space, it does sound good when we're talking about perspectives, and I'm just going to lean on that word for a second, because when we have a varied community, we need varied perspectives. Whether it's, from the faith community. And when I say faith community, I'm thinking of, whether it's churches that are predominantly white or churches that are predominantly black, because that in itself is a perspective. I think about folks who are veterans. That's a perspective. I think about folks who have the lived experience of being someone that was on the streets. That's a perspective. I think of folks from the gay and queer community. That's a perspective. And the reason I'm throwing those into this space is that when our fellow joins us here in a few months, she will have a plate full, because those are the things that people are going to ask us. Those folks who are watching at home, they're going to say, well, who is going to represent me? And we want to make sure that all the me's are heard. Because if we don't listen to them with the intentionality of doing some good work, we're going to lose them. And so they'll be on the fringes. And so rather than folks being on the fringe, how do we include them? How do we bring them forward? How do we make space for folks to be seen, heard, and valued? Even if we may disagree with their perspective, we want to make sure that their voice is heard. And I want to make sure that, we can do that not only as a one-time thing, but throughout the entirety, because we have to do a really good work when it comes to fidelity and the money that we're using. Because I can hear folks saying, okay, well, we got this great thing about parking. How are we going to use those funds? And so I just want to be mindful of that, because we are those individuals that are sitting here that are representing all parts of the city, whether it's, from the south to the northeast. And when we have partnerships, whether it's with the Chamber or with the Salem Leadership Foundation, we got to make sure that all those perspectives are in the room. And we have to ask a very important question. When we look in any space, since we're talking about the third space, we have to ask ourselves, who is not here? Who is not in this space? Whose voice is not being represented? And if we don't do that, I can tell you right now, we're going to get those emails. And we have to find a way to not curtail those emails, but find a way to answer those questions before they come here. So with that question, who is not represented, I want to make sure that we leave that with all of us. Thank you.
Councilor Matthews.
Well, I'll tell you something I took away from the presentation. So I took away kind of just the fact that you guys had such a diverse group, as such a big positive. The fact that you guys took a 30-person group and then kind of narrowed it into 7, but kept the 30-person group still going when other communities didn't. I think that's really respectful. But it also kind of occurred to me as we started talking about the resource constraints, we started talking about volunteerism, and it was just sort of like almost, I don't know, it was just locked in my brain that, Salem seems to be synonymous with service. That seems to be somewhat of our DNA. I mean, there's everything in our city is basically service-based. While you were talking, and I was intently listening, I was also looking up some volunteer hours. And so last year, obviously we have all of our boards, commission, task force, like your task force, which, several of you are volunteers on this task force. We just had two other commissions that reported back tonight. Those boards, commissions, task force, everyone that does those, completely volunteer, completely giving up their time. Parks volunteers last year, 59,000 hours of our park volunteer hours. Library volunteers, 5,000 hours. Center for D+ volunteers, 105,000 hours. Police volunteers, 7,500 hours. Fire volunteers, 1,500 hours. We just heard about the UGM pickup crew that's getting ready to go out, which is a whole exposure that had you not had this diverse 30-person group, wouldn't have been a stakeholder in this entire narrative. And so because they were part of this narrative, because they were a stakeholder, they now have a task. Council as a whole, I don't know many other 180,000 population cities that have council that are fully volunteer and unpaid. I think most of our peer cities are paid. Neighborhood association board members, even moving us out of the city specifically and moving us to neighborhood associations. Salem is built on service, and this whole premise, this is our only way really to have a whole bunch of community engagement is to continue to make this about the community stepping up and being part of it. And so I think the fact that you guys took this 30-person group, I think you guys did a great job in making sure that you had enough stakeholders there that really felt invested. So great job with that.
Councilor Nishioka.
Thank you. Again, great presentation. I think that the work that you put into this is quite amazing. I will also say that as this was going on, I, as a counselor, wasn't getting any information, and I will have to say that that was a bit frustrating in the sense of all of this work, and we kind of felt the vibe happening, but at the same time, it was like we didn't know. And so I appreciated when I reached out to Courtney and I said, hey, can we at least get an idea? And this was just before you left. And so I appreciated her very well-constructed email about all of the activities and how you were building a framework. And that alone gave me some solace, like, okay, great, now at least I understand what the efforts were. And now I get to see the reality with this presentation of what those efforts were. And Councilor Matthews is right. It's amazing how many volunteers there are in this community, and that shows how this framework can even be more effective because of what we've already built here. So I thank you for all of this work, and it really has provided a much bigger picture of what we'll be striving for, and the recognition that what you've already worked through will really help us and the community build from there. So thank you.
Can I say one more thing?
Absolutely.
I just realized we didn't say at the beginning for people watching at home or people here, just to know that Bloomberg-Harvard paid 100% of the tab for this learning experience. I just wanted to make sure. I wondered if you guys would get emails about that. And so it's pretty amazing, but yeah, Bloomberg-Harvard paid for all of it, and we're all volunteers. So I just wanted to make sure to add that.
Thank you, and I would add to that along the way, much of this was embargoed. Like, we weren't allowed to talk about it until it happened. And then when I got back, I was supposed to respond to a question about your visit, but I couldn't respond to that until I had a meeting with you, which didn't happen until a couple of days before I left on another embargoed moment with the international cohort of mayors. And I just want to say that I could not be more proud of you and the work that you did. And you were in Cambridge with, was it 12 other cities, 12 other teams of 7 from around the world, and you represented so well that you impressed the Bloomberg-Harvard community, and you topped them. They had never, in 9 years, this is the 9th year of this opportunity, they've never had anyone bring a diverse group from the city like you are. They've never had a group continue to engage with the 30, and now they're going to apply that. So you all taught, you all taught Bloomberg-Harvard, and I think that's pretty incredible. And I think the timing is just wonderful. We were in need of help, of broad support, and in this collaboration effort, I was looking at, even if I just look at the 7, you know, Courtney, can you tell us who's represented on the 7? It's Tiffany with business. It's Roberto with nonprofits. It's Nicole with Salem Housing Authority. It's Assistant Chief Ditto with the police, Tig with fire, and Debbie Green with, Debbie Wells. Debbie Wells with Marion County Mental Health and Behavioral Health. That's pretty incredible. So I think you've just done a fabulous job. And we are building, you call it a model, Assistant Chief Ditto, I call it a blueprint. And that blueprint had to be built. They forced us to stick with downtown. You cannot take a whole city on in this effort. Pick a spot. We chose downtown. We build a blueprint. And now when Alessandra comes to town in June, she is going to help us to adapt that blueprint with another group of 30 in Northeast and maybe another group of 7. I haven't looked that far ahead, but we'll see how that goes. Anyway, just to add a little more context, and it certainly was not a matter of leaving you all out of a loop. It was a loop that we didn't know how it was going to form. And now here we are. So I couldn't be more grateful. Thank you for I know you have poured your hearts and souls into this work, and it's making a huge difference and inspiring Salem already. So thank you. Anyone else? Beautiful. Thank you. Part of me just kind of wants to stop there, but we're moving on to item 5D, and City Manager Numburi, please take it away.
Thank you, Mayor. I know we have a couple of more presentations, so we have to get through tonight. So thank you. And what you just heard reflects a significant amount of personal time and work by staff and community members. I just want to, and also, I know the group is leaving, but finding that entry point is often the most difficult and important part of this work. So I appreciate the group of 7, and that's what we are calling them, group of 7. I appreciate the group of 7 going through those iterations to find that right entry point, and also the group of 30 for bringing different perspectives and viewpoints into this effort. And Alessandra, perfect timing for you to be here to witness the presentation. Welcome to Salem. But I also want to highlight that Bloomberg-Harvard is paying for your work in Northeast Salem. So thank you for being here. So what I would like to do now is just to take a step back and connect this work to other conversations, the broader set of conversations we have been having around downtown. Over the past, and I'll get to that slide in a minute, but over the past several months, we have had several conversations about safety, cleanliness, connecting individuals with the right resources. We also had conversations about the amphitheater, riverfront activation, the ambassador program, public restrooms. So when you think about all these conversations, and they're not competing ideas. They're kind of part of that. They're connecting pieces of a larger system, right? So when you individually look at these ideas, they might appear like they're separate, but they're all trying to achieve the same outcomes. They're about increasing foot traffic, improving experience in downtown, and also creating reasons for people to visit downtown, right? So what I would like to introduce tonight is the graphic that you see on the screen. And this graphic can be used to establish that a shared understanding of the overall downtown framework. And the visual represents those 3 strategic pillars that you need to create a safe, vibrant, and welcoming community. Before I get into the slide, I just want to make sure this is not any new pilot program. I know every time I bring a visual up, it kind of looks like there is a new pilot program, and it's not. And we're trying to bring like a visual tool to be able to kind of visualize how we can see the work that is being done in downtown. So in order for us to think differently, right? Like, so what we have done here is to organize the work that we are doing into 3 different focus areas. The first is safety and support. And this is kind of, this includes your public safety, outreach and behavioral health, and efforts like Safe, Clean, Healthy Salem initiatives. And the second strategic pillar is the environment and experience, and that's your public spaces, your infrastructure, cleanliness, and also basically how downtown looks and feels like for, on a day-to-day basis. And the third pillar is the activation and economic activity. And that includes your events, programs, and also, riverfront activation is one of them. And also opportunities like amphitheater and basically creating reasons for people to visit downtown. So just to kind of highlight, I know this particular slide talks about downtown vision, but we can use similar graphic for any parts of Salem. Councilor Brown, I know you have been talking about having a council work session to talk about Northeast Salem or some kind of a council conversation around it. Our hope is to create a graphic similar to this for Northeast also, so that we can clearly see where the services are and also where the gaps are. So when you see the Bloomberg-Harvard work, that is actually a good example of how we are advancing that experience focused area, because the team talked about the cleanliness being the entry point. So that is kind of falls under that experience area. And then a couple of weeks ago, we had conversation about the amphitheater, and that goes back to that activation part of the work. And tonight, we will be discussing the ambassador program, the next agenda item, and that fits within that, actually the support part of the first column, and also the experience part of the second column, right? So that's kind of what this overall structure looks like. But when you see the graphic, it also highlights what you see, the where the city is, the programs the city is responsible for. That's your first row, I guess. And then you have the community partners roles. That is kind of where your community partners are responsible for those services. The in-between is where we are partnering with our community partners and stakeholders in providing those services. So that's your shared responsibility that you see. What you also see that we are not equally developed in all those three different focus areas, right? So the past 14 months, we have been doing good work, or at least started kind of strong work underway in safety and coordination. But we definitely have gaps in activation and in that overall downtown experience. So at the bottom, you can see the gaps that exist right now, that kind of include the ambassador program, restrooms, and I'm not going to read all of them, but that's the bottom row is the gaps. But these are just the initial gaps that we identified, right? So we need to engage more. We need to engage with the community more to identify any additional gaps that are missing there. But I also see this, having kind of a tool like this or a graphic like this is also a way to, an opportunity for us to build a more comprehensive and a shared vision with our community partners and stakeholders. But also it kind of gives you a shift in how we approach this work. What I mean by that is when we started the Safe, Clean, Healthy Salem program, it was definitely, and also the same thing with the livability levy, it was a city-initiated, city-led initiative, and then we engaged the community with that. And so we definitely saw a good impact through both of those initiatives. are a good outcome. So with the Bloomberg-Harvard work that the team had done, we actually are building on that. I think there's a lot that we learned, and I know Assistant City Manager Courtney Knox-Bush mentioned something about when it comes to the Bloomberg-Harvard work, the focus is a community-driven approach. So where you are bringing community resources and multiple perspectives together, and so when we make it a community-driven approach, you are actually defining the problem, you're creating a shared ownership of that problem, and then also you're identifying solutions that are collective, not necessarily just the city-owned solutions. So in order to approach this, there are a lot of efforts in place, there are a lot of initiatives in place. In order to approach these efforts strategically, what we need to do, I think we need to do kind of 3 different things. The first one is we need to establish clear priorities among these efforts. And number 2, to align them with the broader framework that we have been talking about. And the most important part of it is to sequence the work in a way that we can actually deliver some meaningful outcomes, but also we are building towards that unified vision that we have, right? So when we follow those 3 steps, what that does is it allows us to move forward some of the ideas that we have been talking about. But also, while doing that, we are also making sure that these ideas and initiatives are working together and not against each other. And also, we are contributing to that larger vision for the community. In this particular case, it's downtown. So the intent to bring this information as information report rather than a council action is we want to, first I want to kind of introduce this concept to the council and the community, and we establish that shared understanding of this framework before we move into specific decisions. And then also the next step from here is staff will do some initial scoping work and along with some additional community input into this, because we do want to make sure that we have all the gaps listed at the bottom, because this is kind of really initial work on this. And so we want to do some initial scoping work and then get community input, identify any other gaps, and then also return to council with options and some priorities. And I think at that time, we definitely need, staff needs some direction from the council. So this is just an initial work. But tonight, we want your input. And I want to make sure, first of all, that we are on the right track with this and to see if there are any pieces that we are missing here. And also the framework that you see here and the framework we created is only 4 weeks old. So we definitely need some help in refining it. So that's kind of what I have here. But I would like to kind of see what your thoughts are on this and if you have any questions.
Councilor Nordyke.
Thank you. It's really great to have a city manager who understands the joys of color coding. And because I too love a color code, and I appreciate that you just want to make sure that we're on the right track. And I see enormous momentum surrounding all the things that we've been working on for the last several years. So this may be a new piece of paper, but a lot of the things that are on this list as existing initiatives have been years in the making, and that's why this is such an exciting document, as well as emerging initiatives and existing gaps. So I wrote down a handful of gaps under the safety and support section. for community partners' roles and support. And to me, that's where I put down shelter, day centers, and ODOT properties. This council is very concerned with the safety of the ODOT properties in the downtown core. We know that there are fires there to keep people warm. We know that there are people congregating there without adequate access to places to wash their hands or use the bathroom. It's a public health and a public safety issue. And I know that our city manager and Gretchen have been working with ODOT for many months to try and have a resolution on that. And I'm not expecting you to have one tonight, but I think we should, if we want to identify existing gaps, having ODOT's efforts for their downtown properties, to me, is definitely a gap. In terms of shelter and day center, I don't think they're necessarily gaps. There are some acts. There's the UGM shelter is downtown, the Arches Day Center is downtown, and there are some other facilities downtown, some more out of view than others, so I won't call them out specifically. All of them are doing their part, and all of them are valuable community partners who are safely sheltering, supporting, and stabilizing our unsheltered neighbors. So to me, those are just some of the things that we should be putting down as community partners. And in terms of gaps, I do want to just draw and underline and put little gold stars around the ODOT properties. I know that we want to work with them, and we know that this isn't something where you can simply sweep people out of existence. Thank you.
Oh, I was going to say, Councillor, thank you for acknowledging my obsession for colors. And I just want to kind of let you guys know that Victor, our desktop publisher, created this document. I think he knows how much I kind of read through colors. And I'm hoping that next time I go see him, he's not going to be, because he has created like 5 different documents for me, and he does a really good job of taking those thoughts and converting into something like this.
I love it.
Councillor Tigan.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you, City Manager Nambury. Really appreciate this document. Also saying it's not, full of new pilots or anything like that, right? When we're having these kinds of conversations, I often go back to our community satisfaction survey and just revisit what it is that the public has asked us to take a look at, right? So question number 4, what's the most important issue you'd like to see the City of Salem do something about? Homelessness and poverty, crime and drugs, affordable housing, promoting businesses, and downtown development. Those are the top 4 things. And when I think about the charts that you've brought us, we're addressing every single one of those top 4 things that the city residents have asked us to address. Now, and then I scroll all the way down to question 52, because this one's really important. This is the communication section. Which of the following is closer to your opinion about the quality of information you receive from the city? 21% of the people say, actually I'll start with this one, 49% of the people say, it's not always clear why I should care about the topic. So almost half of the people who get some piece of information from us. And I feel like, and 21% say, it's easy to understand what's happening and what I can do about it. I feel like this kind of communication where we take the efforts that we're actually doing to address the things that people care about and put them in containers, buckets, graphics for people to easily understand, we are on a full court press on this issue, is really important to people understanding the value of the work that we do. I think for a long time we've thought that a transportation system plan update, that people are going to think we're doing the people's work by doing that, and we are, but it's not as understandable as taking the things that they care about the most and letting them know that this is what we're putting our time and effort to. So I just really appreciate these. I don't think we need 7 more of them for the next 7 things on the list. I think you've given us a lot to chew on for treat, enforce, and prevent drug use, for clean, healthy, safe Salem, and for understanding economic vitality in the city. But these are really important, and I just want to commend you for the work on them. And I'm excited as a counselor to look at these as a way to understand the sort of things I want to bring to the table and to this group and say, okay, well, how does it fit in the containers we've put together and agreed as a team that this is where we want to put our effort. So thank you for also helping our thinking. And I would just say, to connect it to the Bloomberg effort, it's not often that we also bring a group of folks saying, we have a problem-solving process. Like, we get a lot of problems brought to us, but hey, this is how we're going to actually try to solve the problems, and a framework for doing that. So to me, all of this fits really well together, and I just want to say that and appreciate it.
So thank you, Councillors. A couple of things on that. One is, I think for me, one of the questions, well, I was just going to say with the communication, I think Rob, our new PIO lead, is here. He's going to fix everything. So that's the hope.
Question 52.
So now everybody will know what exactly the city is doing. So one of the reasons to, I think, arrange into these focus areas is also to be very clear about what the city roles and support is versus what our partners are doing, because often for the community members, it's difficult for them to understand what city is responsible for and what city is not. I think this kind of differentiates that. And like I said, this could be for any parts of Salem, not just downtown. Yeah, I think this overall, we need to be kind of focusing into these three buckets so that we are not taking on too much that we can't handle, and making sure that any initiative that comes in under, it has to fit under an overall vision for that particular part of Salem. Right, so.
Councilor Brown, did you have something?
Oh, yes, ma'am. I didn't, but I can always come up with something. No, I do want to follow this, Madam City Manager. You know, I appreciate, you know, obviously, you know, the color coding is just it's, you know, the folks out there, you don't know this, but between she and I, we have so many color-coded pens back here. It's just crazy. It's a little bit of OCD coming out of us. One of the things that I do want to share, it goes back to our strategic plan. And when I see sheets like this, it reminds me of a conversation I had months ago with Councilor Varney and also with President Nishioka, is that everything that we're sharing tonight and the council meetings before, it's all under good governance. It allows folks to see the accountability. It allows folks to see the transparency. I'm not a fan of that word, but it allows folks to see behind the closed doors. It allows folks to see where money is going. Because we know that that's a place where people can, you know, lose a little bit of sight. And the one thing I want to read, it's from our strategic plan in regards to good governance, just so we know where we're going, the direction we're going. We have here how we define good governance. Good governance for us is defined by providing fiscally responsible, transparent, and equitable services, proactively engaged residents. I think Assistant City Manager referenced that. And to build partnerships to prepare for the future and cultivate long-term success. So the very fact of you sharing this with us, or, you know, bringing more information to us, I see it as just another display of good governance. So I do give high accolades to you and your team.
Councilor Matthews.
I mean, I'll mimic what everyone else has said. I think the document is a great visual for being able to just see in one place what is happening and what we're actually doing about these issues, specifically in the downtown area. I will kind of bounce off of what Councilor Brown's request has been to sort of see this in the northeast area. And, you know, I'll kind of mimic that in other parts of the city. That I think there's traditionally kind of there's an understanding amongst council and all of our wards that downtown especially is, and I've heard Mayor Hoy say this before, it's the living room to our city, right? And so I think we understand that economic vitality, the importance of downtown is extremely important, and that's why we put so much emphasis and so much focus on it. But obviously for the rest of us also, we also love to see what's happening in our wards, or at least I would. And so for me personally, like, I'd love to see this distributed in what we're doing in other aspects of the city as well, including Northeast, including South, including West, to be able to see what we're doing in each one of these areas, in each one of these parts of the community, to be able to meet these desirable outcomes. And so I'm not saying that that's a need for today. I understand this is taking precedence, but just as a future kind of like as we're drafting this and as we're building this, starting to build that framework for being able to share this with each one of our own individual parts of town would be extremely helpful for me.
Thank you, Councillor. You need to be nice to Victor. That's what it is. I'm not, no, I'm just kidding. No, I think I agree. I think the next step is Northeast, and then hopefully we can kind of do some similar work as time permits for other areas of Salem. The one thing that I was going to say, and then I just kind of missed it, is, you know, there are people that are very vocal, that they come to council and they talk about what the need is, but there are people that are not here to express the concerns that they are going through. I think part of this document, I think we also need to capture everyone's input into it. I think this document also allows that, and not necessarily just, you know, people that are actively engaging with the city, because we do want to get everyone's input into it. So I agree that I think we should do that for every part of Salem.
Councilor Nishioka.
Thank you, Mayor. And thank you, Krishna. I, too, will echo what others have said. I appreciated Councilor Nordike's saying some of the gaps are certainly those services that we're wanting people to get to. And as those are crowded or non-existent, it is something that we really need to encourage our partners and figure out ways that we can address that. Because if we continue to have the homeless service team, the clean team, and possibly even ambassadors going out, and then there's nowhere to go, we're not helping. I want to say, too, coming from what Councilor Tigan said, I think that what I've been very impressed with from you is the ability to take a very complex and overarching problem and condense it down into pieces, chunks that we can understand, and as Councilor Tigan was saying, we can share, because it is overwhelming. All of these things can be very overwhelming, and you make it pretty. You make it very, I guess, really approachable. And I think that that is helpful in so many ways, but most importantly, what I feel like is it gives us all hope. We feel a momentum of, yes, look at this, we can do it. And so I want to, with all of the ink that must have brought us these bright colors, I feel that that alone helps us feel really confident and ready to take on these problems, and not just us, but our community and our partners. So I thank you for all of the great work that you're doing to help us simplify the issues so that we can feel positive and move from it.
Thank you, Councillor. It's just not me. It's teamwork. My leadership team is the one that has to put up with me. So
thank the whole team. Sorry, I do thank the whole team.
Anyone else? Yes, Councillor Barney.
Thank you. No, I appreciate the color coding too. My pack of 20 colored pencils or whatever. I look at this and really, I like the plan. I like the way it's laid out. Right now I'm envisioning sharing it with the budget committee and saying which fund does each thing come out of, and that's what I'm picturing. But that brings me to the thought, the community, right now, where are we going to get financial support for the gaps? Where are those resources going to come from? Because I believe and I'm excited to share this with the community, but I can hear already the concern about the affordability of this vision when they have concerns about prioritization of core services. And I just wanted to throw that out there because I'm thinking about that too. It all costs a lot of money, and yeah, we want to do these things. We'd like to even grow on these things. But I'm just keeping that in the back of my mind, okay? Because there are going to be concerns. Thank you.
Anyone else? Thank you for that colorful presentation of yours. Appreciate it. All right, we are moving on now to item 5E, motion from Councilor Nishioka concerning the feasibility study of Downtown Ambassador Program and integration with Clean, Safe, and Healthy Salem. Councilor.
Thank you. I move that Council direct staff to evaluate a Downtown Ambassador Program and how it could integrate with our Clean, Safe, and Healthy Salem efforts and return with options for a pilot program.
Second.
We have a motion and a second by Nordyke. Councilor, to your motion.
Thank you. So I will read some of my discussion points and then talk a little bit about the work I've done on this. I'm hoping that this city staff can research and evaluate the feasibility of establishing a Downtown Ambassador Program to support downtown's business district, and including a program structure for governance, whether it's city-led or a partnership model, scope of services, and then the estimated cost. Analyze how the ambassador program could integrate with and enhance city efforts, such as the clean team, the homeless service team, behavioral reach, the reach team, and coordinate protocols for communication and escalation. Identify best practices in comparable cities. Evaluate anticipated impacts, including downtown safety perception and visitor experience, support for local businesses and economic activity, reduction in non-emergency calls for service, and overall downtown cleanliness and livability. And provide options for a pilot program, and then return to council with a report and recommendations. I think the other councilors, you probably follow the Safer Cities newsletter. I know I get it every Sunday, and I've been reading it quite regularly. It talks a lot about the crisis units in cities, and it almost always has a discussion about ambassador programs. I'm not sure the ambassador word is the best word to use, because sometimes that means that it's just greeting visitors. And that's not what this is. This can be adapted to whatever each city needs. And more cities across the country are utilizing ambassador programs. And just within Oregon, Medford has one, Ashland has one, Corvallis has one, Eugene has one, Bend has one, Hillsborough has one, and Portland does. And so these are each unique within their own city for what they're tailored to do. And I will also say that I appreciate the fact that it is on the list that Krishna Namburi just presented as a gap, because that's what I think we're still experiencing for our businesses and visitors downtown, is a gap. I know that my colleague, Councilor Tigan, and I have heard from our downtown businesses with still a lot of concern about those that might sleep in front of their business and then they don't have anyone to call or get help when they want them to open up their shop or their store, their restaurant. And an ambassador program could be that service for them. And it would then eliminate needing to call 911. I know that recently we were someplace and they were asking us, we just want REACH to get there right now. And REACH is already trying to care for many calls, and to reach, you need to call 911. So I'm trying to find a way to help the businesses, the residents downtown, that could provide that little service that we might see is missing right now. But they also could do other aspects of, quote, ambassadors. I also discovered, thinking about the term ambassadors, I was looking up cities, if they ended up calling them ambassadors or if they created a nickname, and it sounds like almost all of them did, such as the Red Hats in Eugene. And there's other names, and so it can then become like, we're going to call so-and-so, we're going to call the Cherries, and they're going to come and help us with the need that we have right now. So I just want to say that each of the programs, as I said, in each of those cities have developed it to meet the needs of their city. And I'm hoping that we could maybe take a look at our own structure so that we can help the downtown core. And oftentimes, if it's a working program that's able to be funded either through a BID or a joint a project with city and businesses, that it could then also go down to other business corridors. It doesn't necessarily, I mean, it may begin in downtown, but if there's other areas, it could be something that it too could expand if there was identifiable funding. So I'm hoping my fellow councilors will see that this might be at least worth examining.
Any questions?
Councilor Varney.
Thank you, and thank you for bringing this forward. I appreciate all your research. You've done a lot, and you've provided a lot of information. Under the scope of services, you mentioned hospitality. And I was kind of curious, are any of the cities that you research using this more for travel and tourism and visitor outreach rather than some of the other things we have listed here? I was just curious.
Yeah, I think Bend does because of higher tourism. So any city that has, and Ashland does as well. So when there's a lot of tourism. And again, that's how a program could adapt for whatever the needs are. And an ambassador program here in Salem, if the amphitheater is improved and we are getting more projects, it could then be tailored to supporting all the visitors that are coming for that event. So it could be a flexible program.
Councilor Brown.
Thank you. Madam President, thank you for sharing about this motion. One question, just kind of spin off from Councilor Varney. In regards to the finances, a part of your vision is that this would be a model that we could spread out throughout the city, correct?
I think, again, once we determine what downtown needs and the project or the pilot program begins, if we see that it's helping, it's worthwhile, we could examine other areas in the sense of where is there problems or what is the need in that area, and then determine if that would be something that it could grow into another area.
Got it. And I don't have an answer to this question, but is this already a part of our strategic plan already? Like, is this in one of our buckets? Maybe this is a question for Madam City Manager.
Thank you, Councillor. Yes, when we had discussions around Safe Clean, as part of the Safe Clean Healthy initiative, one of the program areas that we discussed was ambassador program.
That's what I thought. So
there were, sorry, so there were two areas that we haven't talked about. One is the ambassador program, and the other one is public restrooms.
Got it. Perfect. So thank you for bringing this up. And so my Madam City Manager, she knows I love a good work session. So even with this motion tonight, is there an opportunity for us to come back and kind of like discuss what the bones of this will actually look like, feel like, and sound like?
Well, the motion tonight is for staff to
do the work.
review it and bring that to us, and so then we would certainly be able to discuss it more at length when that was brought to us. I have been talking about an ambassador program, I want to say, for almost 2 years. Some cities have called it their clean team, and so I know that Ms. Nambury and I spoke about it earlier when, in the summer when she was getting ready to bring forth the Safe, Clean, Healthy Salem, and that was why it was on there, and I really appreciated that she had that there. And I think the timing is just right. Today, with the presentations we've heard, I think it's like we recognize it as a gap, and maybe it's worth at least examining and potentially having as a pilot program to see if it is effective. And if we need to adapt it to something else, or change it up or increase it. I think too that we've also heard from many businesses that staff that work late at night, that sometimes they're concerned about walking to the parking garage. Again, I don't know what the kind of hours would be, what the spread would be, if maybe they work early in the morning when people might need help, and then later again in the evening when somebody might need an escort to their vehicle. It could be just a flow of whatever is needed. So I wish I had all of the answers, but I think that what we need to do is see what the feasibility is and then look at what other cities are doing. Again, all up and down I-5, it's, all the cities are having these programs. So clearly there's places that we could learn from.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Madam Mayor?
Councilor Nordyke, did you have something?
Yeah, just generally, I think it's already largely been covered. I want to remind my colleagues that Councilor Nishioka is not asking for money tonight. She's not asking for a final decision. This is the process. If you want to bring a new project to this council, this is the best way to do it, to do a lot of vetting, to bring it as a motion and direct staff to study it further and bring it back. And that's when you can start looking at how much it would cost and what would be the proposed impact. So I just wanted to explain that process and commend Councilor Nishioka for doing so. I do see a potential need for this program, and I'm very curious. I won't beat a dead horse much further. I think that ambassadors, whether it's for promoting tourism or to help people who have been sleeping overnight in the only safe place they could find, I just want to reiterate, all of the outreach up front still requires follow-up and places for people to safely be and safely exist. So that's going to be a theme of mine tonight. We can't only do outreach. I say this partially because I toured the Navigation Center yet again. I've been there multiple times, but I'd like to check in, see how things are going. And the staff of the Navigation Center made clear to me that the skinniest part of the funnel for reducing homelessness is the affordable housing piece at the end. Because we have people in places like the Navigation Center right now. They're sober, they're stable, they're ready to leave. But they can't afford to leave. There's no place for them to go after that. So I see what I really love about this document is we're starting to realize how these pieces fit together. We cannot make decisions in a vacuum. So I commend Councilor Nishioka. I will, of course, be voting yes to this motion. I want to learn more. And I would also be curious to know what potential funding sources there would be. If there is a tourism angle, maybe some of the Cultural and Tourism Promotion Fund might be an eligible revenue source for at least part of this service, just as a possibility to throw that out there, because that's not a fund we can spend on just anything. So it's nice to be able to be creative and think about ways to use that fund so that we're not always going to our default, which is the general fund. Thank you.
Councilor Matthews.
So this is really a question for staff, but can you walk me through what the feasibility study looks like from just a procedural standpoint, but then also a time perspective of how many hours do you anticipate you'll have to allocate to do a feasibility study on this?
So, Councillor, let me
So first of all, before I get to your question, so Councilor Nishioka, thank you for bringing this forward. I just want to make sure that we are on the same page when we are looking at the scope of work. So based on our conversation and the discussion tonight, the intent to bring this motion forward, or the ambassador program forward, is to address the need for providing a stronger presence, visibility, and connection, right? And then also that overall improved experience in downtown. Okay. And when I look at this work alongside the Bloomberg-Harvard work that has been done, and then the overall framework that we kind of talked about, this clearly fits within that support and experience focused areas, right? And then, of course, ambassador program is identified as one of the gaps. But I think what I want to make sure is this program is not to replace our existing programs in downtown, but more like an addition to what's already in place. Okay. And then I think it's important that we still continue to do that parallel work when it comes to safety and behavioral health help and downtown activation. That is also important, right? And the fact that the ambassador program works best as part of that system rather than the individual, right? So we are, am I getting this? Okay.
Yes.
Okay. And then so Councillor Matthews, to go back to your question, from a staff capacity and funding perspective, we currently do not have staff availability to do this work, right? So, but what I would recommend is, even for us to kind of define what that scope of work is and how many hours, and I think that's when we need to do some research in what that is before we kind of bring it forward. But what I would recommend is, the first thing that I think we need to move this forward as part of that coordinated downtown strategy rather than an independent program, right? And then the other piece of it is, within the next couple of months, what I would like to do is bring back what a pilot approach, what kind of pilot approach may be possible using some of our existing partnerships and resources, right? So that's kind of one. And then also how this integrates or fits into that within the work that is already underway. And then, and how a program like this could be structured. Because when you look at these different cities, and Councilor Nishioka, thank you for doing the research on, and I know you have done quite a bit of research on this. There are different models that are out there. So when we talk about the financial feasibility, and I think it's also important to look at what that structure looks like. Because there are cities where the city is not part of it. And there are cities where the city more like engages with partners on this, right? So there are different models, and I don't have the complete analysis yet, but I think we would like to do some preliminary work on that. So I think that's kind of what I can commit to tonight, is to come back to this council within the next couple of months and to look at what those three things look like. One is the pilot programs, but it has to be with existing partnership and resources, because we don't have funding for this now. And then and how this fits within, because there's already work underway. I just want to make sure that we are not duplicating anything, right? And then a program like this, how we can structure and what different models exist. And so that way we can still move this idea forward, but also make sure that this fits within that broader system that we talked about.
So what I think I envision is, it's almost like a combination of the clean team and the homeless service team, in the sense that, generally speaking, the individuals that they're unarmed, but they have been trained for de-escalation. They're recognizable because they have either vests or a shirt or some identification so people can say, oh, here they are. And they'd also have whatever training is required in the sense of if there's a cleaning need that they can address, that maybe that business is uncomfortable taking care of. So it's like taking the homeless service team, and a couple of them are now downtown. But again, it doesn't have to be just that. I hope to see how it could unfold to address the needs of those that have businesses, the residents, and the visitors, whether they be local or people visiting the city. I think that I have seen other cities be very, it's helped many cities. And from what I've read, it has even improved the area tremendously for a lot of the things that you were also talking about in getting more of the business, the properties that don't have anybody in them. Oh, well, now let's be down there. So I see it as an economic growth possibility and then tourism possibility. So it could be developed, but at the bones of it would be to help the businesses and visitors initially. I hope that makes sense.
It does, and I think what I want to make sure is I'm committing to within the staff capacity that we have, rather than a complete analysis on this. I just want to be able to bring back those three things that I have talked about, and hopefully that is a good start.
That's a great start. Yeah. That's where we need to begin, and then we can adapt.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else? Thank you so much. If there's no further discussion, will the recorder please call the roll?
Councilor Nordyke.
Aye.
Councilor Varney.
Aye.
Councilor Tigan.
Aye.
Councilor Nishioka.
Aye.
Councilor Matthews.
Aye.
Councilor Gwynn.
Aye.
Councilor Brown.
Aye.
Councilor Vang absent. Mayor Julie Hoy.
Aye. Motion passes. We're moving on to information reports. I'll run through these. If you have anything you want to talk about, please stop me. Item 6A, purchases approved administratively from March 1st, 2026 through March 31st, 2026. Item 6B, quarterly information report on economic development. Item 6C, the end of session report summarizing the city's legislative activities. That concludes our information reports for the evening. We're moving on to ordinances. Item 7.1, first reading.
Ordinance Bill number 626, an ordinance declaring certain territory located at 2170 Walker Road Northeast and 4893 Sunnyview Road Northeast annexed to the City of Salem, prescribing its comprehensive plan map designation and zoning, and withdrawing the territory from the Marion County Fire District number 1 and East Salem Sewer and Drainage District.
Thank you. In Councilor Vang's absence, Chair Nishioka.
Thank you. I move to advance ordinance bill number 6-26, approving the annexation of territory located at 2170 Walker Road Northeast and 4893 Sunnyview Road Northeast, changing the zoning and comprehensive plan designations and withdrawal of the territory from Marion County Fire District number 1 and East Salem Sewer and Drainage District to second reading for enactment.
Second.
Second by Gwynn.
Okay. All right. Councilor Varney.
Aye.
Councilor Tigan.
Aye.
Councilor Nishioka.
Aye.
Councilor Matthews.
Aye.
Councilor Gwynn.
Aye.
Councilor Brown.
Nay.
Nay. Councilor Vang absent. Councilor Nordyke.
Aye.
Mayor Julie Hoy.
Aye. Motion passes. We have no second readings. We have one person signed up for public comment. please come forward, announce your name, your address, or your ward for the record. You'll have 3 minutes to speak. Kathleen Treppa.
Yes, thank you. Kathleen Treppa, Ward 7. Mayor Hoy, several times you have stated publicly that you were following the city attorney's guidance to a T when you met with the majority of the city council in one-on-one meetings to discuss the draft operational plan or assessment and the former city manager's performance. You did so again at the West Salem Business Association Forum last week. And I have to say, it is absolutely inconceivable to me that any city attorney would confirm that you could discuss a city matter with a majority of the city council, especially a topic as sensitive as the city manager's performance. A professional administrator who clearly put guardrails around your behind-the-scenes manipulations. You have gone through ethics training, and he's a government attorney. I can't believe he didn't caution you against discussing those items with the majority of the council and offer a more appropriate path for you to have those conversations, because there was a more appropriate path. And if he did say it was okay, well, that was either gross incompetence or willful negligence. Either you're lying about his guidance and he's covering for you, which would also be bad, or he failed miserably in his legal guidance. In either case, this is a lose-lose for the city and the public. And rather than acknowledge the ethics violations, you continue to double down, and it's shameful. One of the guiding values of this agency, as stated in the strategic plan that was pulled from tonight's agenda, is accountability. I think somebody already mentioned that. To act with integrity and honesty, to take responsibility for your actions, and to communicate with residents to ensure transparency. And as a public official, I hope you would take that to heart. In the last minute that I have, since the strategic plan was pulled off the agenda tonight, I hope you factor into your assessments and into the strategic plan current economic conditions when assessing homelessness, crime, business viability, and especially downtown vitality. Increasing cuts to social services and health insurance subsidies on top of higher grocery, fuel, and utility costs are squeezing individuals and families. I am fortunate to be comfortably middle class, but in the last year, I have dramatically cut back on my spending. I only spend downtown parking. I pay for parking. I go to the occasional coffee shop, and I get a low-cost meal. That's all I do. I haven't been to either one of the malls in about a year. So you cannot divorce economic reality with the other factors that you're trying to assess. And quite frankly, empty storefronts are not due to homeless. They're due to economic issues. They're due to financial issues. And we need to stop blaming the homeless for the empty storefronts. Thank you.
All right, anything further? We are adjourned.